very solid with us. Did a great job. No errors yesterday, which, we're always emphasizing that. Denali did a nice job on the mound, just keeping him off balance, and then offensively, she stepped up with the first run of the game in the first inning with a home run. So she kind of, started us off on the right foot and did a great job. And then we saw some great hits across the board with Grace Baines had a big hit, Sammy Diaz, Sophia Morris, 2 big hits for her. Marissa Peak came up with a big RBI for us later in the games, and Burns had some good hits. She actually had a foul ball that looked like it was actually hit the building on top of the building behind the facility. So we're seeing the hits coming back through. They're very aggressive now on the base path, and did a great job of doing the little things right. The thing we left 10 runners on again. That's part of what we've got to get a little bit better at, those clutch hits, but. Overall, I was very proud of what they did and really see them stepping up now.
Do you see them kind of beginning to figure out situations, timing of hits, and getting the right hit at the right time?
Yeah. You're starting to see them a little bit more aggressive and a little more confident at the plate. These pitchers are good with Northwestern, and they did a nice job of figuring out and making adjustments and being able to get some big hits for us. And that's the key. I mean, we just have to keep going hard at them. They're number 8 in the country right now, and the girls are like, we can handle them. So they've got that confidence going into today's game.
It's interesting, and from an observation standpoint, from what I was watching, it seemed that as the game went along, I think these Iowa hitters kind of rattled Danielle Williams a little bit yesterday.
Yeah, you could see that they were knocking her out. That was the biggest thing. Bradley came up with a big opportunity, big hit, and they made the change after Bradley was at plate. So, you saw them getting nervous, and that's what we want them to be, is a little nervous having to play up against us.
How long? What was your thoughts then about Denali in the circle when she had a few moments, in different at bats for Northwestern that she was struggling a little bit? Did you ever contemplate taking her out?
Yeah, we did, and we talked about that as far as the scenario, and she was doing a good job against them. We just made some adjustments on how we were calling the game, and that seemed to help, being able to get a different look. But she held tough in there. I was very proud of her, and being able to have Bree being able to be fresh today and have the chance of going head-to-head with her today was important.
So you see that much more fight in them today coming out in game number 2?
Yeah, I think they're ready. They're very excited about being able to get a win this weekend, and I think the way we're playing, like we said, we didn't have any errors. The defense was very strong, and offensively, I was just proud of how they were for fighting the entire game. So, yeah, we're excited about to see what the game happens today.
All right, Coach. Well, best of luck to you.
And thank you, Jerry. Appreciate it.
All right, we'll be back with our starting lineups. You're listening to Iowa Softball on AM 800 KXIC.
If current trends continue, our oceans could contain more plastic than fish by 2050. Do your part. Purchase items made from renewable or recycled content and recycle whenever possible. Brought to you by iHeart Radio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/earth.
Susan, I'm sorry I'm late. Traffic is terrible.
It sure is. But on top of that, gas prices have been skyrocketing. I can't believe how expensive gas has gotten recently.
Prices at the pump are up, but I never pay full price for gas anymore. I just use the free Upside app that pays you cash back for every gallon of gas you buy.
Wait a minute. Are you saying you actually get paid cash when you buy gas with the Upside app?
Yes, I get real cash back every time I buy gas.
And does that actually add up to anything?
I've made around $200.
Wow, that's serious extra cash. I'm downloading the free Upside app now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn real cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code GOLD for a $5 bonus on your first tank. That's promo code GOLD. You can cash out anytime right to your bank account, to PayPal, or an e-gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code GOLD for a $5 bonus on your first tank. That's code GOLD for a $5 bonus.
As the country bounces back from COVID and mask mandates are lifted, your business needs a lift too. Promote your company right here, right now. Radio ads connect with 93% of Americans every week. That's more than Google, more than Facebook, more than TV. In fact, radio reaches 20% more millennials than TV. Want more of the people you want to talk to all in one place? Visit iHeartAdvertising.com and get AM and FM working for you. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
Hawkeye Sports and Fox Sports, AM 800, KXIC Iowa City. Available everywhere on the iHeartRadio app. Now #1 for podcasting.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
Welcome back to Fitzgerald Park in the campus of Northwestern University in Evanston, Illinois. We await the start of the Iowa Northwestern game number 2, the Hawks and the Northwestern Wildcats. You know, Northwestern is ranked number 8 in the top 25 around the country, and they are very solid, have some great hitting and some excellent pitching, of course, from Danielle Williams, who threw yesterday. This is their primary pitcher of the last couple of years, but the Hawks stood toe-to-toe with her in the batter's box while she in the circle, and they hit the ball very nicely, just that Northwestern crushed a few home runs, got a few extra base hits and runs that helped them to the win yesterday over the Hawks 9-5 in game number 1 of the series. Here are the starting lineups for the Hawks. It'll be Briley Klosterman leading off for Iowa. She is a sophomore center fielder out of North Liberty. Nia Carter will be playing right field, batting second. The junior, Denali Lecker, is the sophomore designated player, batting third. Kalena Burns is playing first base, batting fourth. The junior, Sophia Morris, is the junior. She is batting fifth and playing shortstop. Sammy Diaz is batting sixth, playing second base. And Grace Baines will be at third base again today. The sophomore, she is batting seventh. Marissa Peak will be behind the plate again today. Had a nice day yesterday behind the plate and at the plate, too. She is batting eighth. And Riley Sheehy, the number 9 hitter in the lineup for the Hawks today, she is playing left field. And Brianna Vasquez will be in the circle for the Hawks here today, as I will try to at least get a win here today. Can only take them one at a time. And winning certainly is the key for them to be able to get into the Big Ten Conference Tournament, which will begin in just under 2 weeks from this time. So the Hawks will need to come out with fire in their eyes again, step to the plate take the big bats to the plate, and score a lot of runs. And on the defensive side, of course, they need to get some excellent pitching out of Brianna Vasquez, and then they'll have to play some defense in the field too. Track down fly balls in the outfield, base hits to the outfield, and especially on the infield where they have to, knock those ground balls down, be in the right place at the right time in those positions to be able to scoop them up and get them over to first base for the outs. This is a Hawkeye softball team that really has been playing pretty well as of late. You know, you look at their record, and it certainly shows that it's far from being good. They're 19-27 overall, but 2-16 in the Big Ten, which doesn't sound good. But they're a number of their losses, 8, 9, 10 of those losses this year, they were within a run or two. They had plenty of people on base during the game, just unable to get them across the plate to add to their run total. But they're starting to come on a little bit strong here, and hopefully at the late season, and hopefully that it'll benefit them as they go into the final 2 weekends, including this one, game 2 of the 3-game series with the Northwestern Wildcats. And then next weekend, they host the Purdue Boilermakers in the Big Ten regular season finale. 3 games there with the Purdue Boilermakers. Now, Purdue, the only team of the final 3, the last 3, who they play to have a chance to get into the tournament. Purdue with 4 wins coming into today, and Purdue was beaten by Rutgers yesterday by the score of 4-1. So that's going to help Iowa's cause here. But again, Iowa has to win. Michigan State is the other team that is vying for a number 12 seed in the tournament. Michigan State at 3-15 lost to Maryland yesterday by the score of 7-2. That's a Maryland team that's 4th
in the league with a 13-5 record. And then Rutgers is a 3-16 team. Now, Iowa doesn't play Rutgers, so what they're anticipating is what Iowa needs is some help from some other Big Ten teams. Purdue is the team this weekend that Rutgers is playing, and that would help Iowa if Purdue can win those games. But then again, Iowa has to win their games to be able to stand firm with the Purdue Boilermakers. So let's just take it one game at a time. We'll use this one right here as the Hawkeyes come to the plate here in the top of the first inning, and they are working against Sydney Supel, who is in the circle. Brodie Klosterman steps to the plate. Here is the first offering from Supel, an off-speed pitch. That's a check swing foul back into the backstop. An overcast day in Evanston, but a day that's with a temperature in the lower 50s. Rain this morning has stopped here for the while, and they're anticipating more rain moving in about mid to late afternoon today. Here is the 0-1 that now becomes 1-1 strike on the sophomore Brodie Klosterman, who yesterday was 1 for 3 with a run scored. She also walked in the game, and she struck out in her first at-bat against Danielle Williams. Even count now at 1-1 strike on Brodie Klosterman. Rips one down the right field line, but foul. They had a number of those yesterday. They're getting around on those pitches. Sydney Supel comes in here with making her third start of the season and her 9th appearance. Supel pitched 23 and a third innings. She's allowed 35 hits, 22 runs, 19 of them earned. Here's the 1-2. That's an off-speed pitch that hits that outside corner, and the umpire animated in his strike 3 call on Brodie Klosterman, so that's the first strikeout for Sydney Supel. Finishing up the statistics for Supel, again, she's given up 22 runs, 19 of them earned, and a 5.70 ERA. She's walked 8, struck out 11 prior to this strikeout. Now she is up to 12 on the season. But again, she's only been in the circle for 23 and a third innings. Here is Nia Carter trying to bunt her way on, and Supel coming out of the circle very quickly to get it over to first base, being covered there by Grace Nito for the second out of the game. And this at bat for the Hawkeyes. Nia's batting average has dipped now below 400. She's still the 7th leading hitter in the Big Ten at 399. And she just tried to get a slap bunt on us. She does not. And so 2 gone in Iowa's top of the first inning. Brings up Denali Lecker. Lecker had quite the game yesterday, pitching 6 innings. And she also had 3 at-bats, a couple of hits. One of them a solo home run, which started off the Hawkeyes scoring in the top of the first inning yesterday. She down in the count at no balls and 1 strike to Sydney Supel, and the 0-1 now becomes 1-1 strike. Sydney Supel is a junior from Oshkosh, Wisconsin, who a year ago pitched only 22 and a third innings. Here is the 1-1 that's ripped down the third base line and just foul outside the bag on third base. Hawks have been getting around on these pitches. One that's just a rocket shot down the third base line that turns out to be foul, so Denali Lecker will remain in the right-handed batter's box for this continued at bat with a ball and 2 strikes. Here's the pitch, an off-speed pitch. She swings that lightly and misses. So 2 strikeouts in the inning for Sydney Supel, and the Hawks are down 1-2-3 in the top of the first inning. We head to the bottom of the first. We're scoreless. Northwestern coming to bat. This is Iowa Hawkeye softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network, Learfield, and YouTube channels and KXIC.
Trusted name in auto body repair. Our premier reputation is built on providing superior customer service, accurate estimates, and high-quality work. Our experienced staff guarantees your vehicle is restored and back on the road in no time. Premier Automotive in North Liberty or online at premierautoiowa.com. Drive safely, but if you hit a deer, call Premier.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
Welcome back to University of Northwestern in Evanston, Illinois for the Hawkeyes and the Northwestern Wildcats. This game is at Sharon J. Drysdale Field. And if you were listening to or heard the interview I did with head coach Renee Gillespie, she talked about the building that is just outside and off of the left center field area at Sharon J. Drysdale Field. That is Welsh Ryan Arena, the basketball arena. It's probably no more than 30 feet from the left field wall to the wall at of Welsh Ryan Arena. Maeve Nelson, who will be batting here for Northwestern, hit one on that wall yesterday that was 2/3 of the way up. And again, it's 220 feet out there by distance from home plate to the wall itself. And that was one that Kalena Burns yesterday hit, but it just veered foul. And she hit one about halfway up the wall, too. So if that's a target they're shooting for to help them hit the balls a long ways, so be it. Here is the first pitch to Skylar Shellmeyer. She is a senior center fielder, batting .277 coming into the game. Yesterday, Shellmeyer was 1 for 3. Working against Brianna Vasquez, the senior out of Los Angeles. Via Central Florida, here is the 1-0. That now becomes 1 ball and 1 strike. Brianna Vasquez, the senior transfer from Central Florida, really has supplied some excellent pitching for the Hawks. When they didn't have a lot of experience coming in, she brought that experience and a different kind of style of pitch. She's not an overpowering pitcher, but she does have some excellent movement on her pitches. She last pitched against Iowa State on Wednesday, went 2 1/3 innings, gave up 5 hits, 4 runs, all were earned. Here she's ahead of the count on Shellmeyer, 1 ball and 2 strikes. Here's a pitch that Shellmeyer tries to slap into left field, but it goes foul. Vasquez making her 26th start on the season, her 31st appearance. She's thrown 105 innings, given up 128 hits, 81 runs, 70 of them earned. She's walked 49 batters and struck out 85. She has a 4.67 ERA. Comes in with a 1-loss record of 6-12. Still ahead on the count at a ball and 2 strikes. Here's one that's down and away to Shellmeyer. As Shellmeyer was a first-team All-Big Ten performer 1 year ago with the Northwestern Wildcats, a team that headed to the NCAA tournament last year. They finished 3rd in the Big Ten. Here is the 2-2 to Shellmeyer. This one again, she tries to slap, and she'll foul it back into the backstop. Brianna Vasquez on the season has thrown 5 complete games. Her last coming at Illinois. In the first game of a doubleheader last weekend, she threw 7 innings. That was the game that the Hawkeyes won, come from behind fashion. 2-2 count now on Shellmeyer. Here is the pitch, one that's just over the reach of Sophia Morris at shortstop. Riley Sheehy will pick it up out of left field, left center field, but in the meantime, Shellmeyer not even stopping around first base, and she walks into second base with a stand-up double. She racing around first base, gets to second, and for Shellmeyer on the season, her double count is now up to 1. Her first double of the season puts her at first base, and it brings up the ever-powerful Rachel Lewis. Lewis hit a 2-run home run yesterday in the first inning. This is the same situation. Here's the first pitch from Brianna Vasquez to Lewis, and it is upstairs, so it's 1 ball and no strikes. Rachel Lewis yesterday was 1 for 2 with 2 RBIs. They come from the 2-run home run she hit in the first inning. Ahead of the count at 1-0. Here's the pitch from Vasquez. Pitch that's just a little bit high across the plate, but a little bit high, according to this umpire. Yesterday's umpire had kind of a flexible strike zone. Sometimes he was squeezing it in. Sometimes he was squeezing it down from the top. But he got through it. Here is the 2-0, and Brianna Vasquez actually threw it right by Rachel Lewis. Lewis, this is her 5th year. She's using the pandemic year that was offered by the NCAA, has 62 home runs in her career. Had one yesterday. She's got 20 on the season, And she leads the Big Ten in home runs this year with 20 home runs. She's got a pitch count now that's 3 balls and 1 strike. Skylar Shellmeyer at second base after doubling the leadoff. Rachel Lewis coming in with a .364 batting average. She's a right fielder. Here's the 3-1 to her. Pitch again as Brianna Vasquez throws it right by her. I think they have figured out that a pitch that's, up a belt higher, a little bit higher is what Rachel Lewis likes. She's a very strong athlete, and the 2 pitches that she swung at and missed were a little bit lower, so maybe he doesn't have that contact point. But it's a 3-2 count. Nobody out. Northwestern at the plate here in the bottom of the first inning. Vasquez in the circle for Iowa. Here's the pitch. And Lewis will rip it right past Grace Baines at third base, and Riley Sheehy from left field trying to throw home to get Shellmeyer, who wasn't stopping at all around third base. It wasn't hit that far out into left field, but Shellmeyer kept right on running, and she scores on the RBI single by Rachel Lewis, and Lewis on the throw home goes on to second base. She ripped it right past Grace Baines at third. Shellmeyer was around third base, and the throw off the mark to home, and so it's a 1-0 lead for Northwestern. Still nobody out in Northwestern's bottom of the first inning. We've seen 2 of their batters. Now he brings up Jordan Rudd. Jordan Rudd yesterday, 1 for 4. She is the senior catcher, batting .367 coming into the game today. Here is the first pitch to her that's called strike 1, knee high. Rudd with 3 home runs on the season, 51 hits, 52 hits, and 159 at-bats. Here is the 0-1 to her. It's an off-speed pitch that Rudd gets after and will foul it back into the backstop, so she's quickly down on the count of no balls and 2 strikes. Jordan Rudd did single in her last at-bat yesterday and was forced at second, trying to turn it into a double. She's down on the count at no balls and 2 strikes. Marissa Peak behind the plate for the Hawks. Here's the pitch from Brianna Vasquez. Here's one that's ripped down the third base line and foul. Got to be ready on those hot corners. Again, it's an overcast day. They were expecting rain, and then it changed. The forecast changed where they had rain this morning. They had the field covered when the team arrived for their pregame hitting. And now they're not anticipating any rain until mid-afternoon so they could get this game in today. Didn't want to have to double up tomorrow. But if they'd had to, they would have done it. Here's the 0-2 from Brianna Vasquez to Jordan Rudd is upstairs. 1 ball and 2 strikes. Northwestern leads the Big Ten with a 16-2 record. Nebraska has fallen off a little bit here. They are now 14-3 after losing to Ohio State yesterday 6-2. Here's the 1-2 to Rudd, an off-speed pitch that Rudd will get around on but foul it down the right field line. Rudd, a first-team All-Big Ten performer in 2019. And last year, a first-team All-Big Ten performer. In the Indiana series, she was on base 12 of the 13 at-bats she has. Here's the 1-2 from Brianna Vasquez, one that she gets up, lifts up back of the press box. So she remains in this at-bat at 1 ball and 2 strikes. In that 12 of 13 on-base percentage, she hit 3 home runs, 6 RBIs, scored 6 runs, and was walked 6 times. Here's one that's lifted out to Brady Klosterman out into center field, and she curls in and makes the catch. That's the first out for Northwestern in the bottom of the first inning. Still with runners, runner at second base in Rachel Lewis, who with an RBI single knocked in Skylar Shellmeyer, who started this at-bat with a double. Maeve Nelson yesterday crushed a home run off of Welsh Ryan Arena. 2 for 3 on the day with 2 runs batted in. Maeve Nelson, the shortstop. She was a second team Big Ten performer her freshman year in 2019. Takes a good strong cut at one and misses it. Brianna Vasquez with a little zip on those pitches here to start with today. In the Purdue series, Game 3 alone, she had 2 home runs, one of them a grand slam home run, and she had 8 RBI in that game. Here's the 0-1 to her off speed, strike 2. Maeve Nelson frozen at the plate on that off-speed pitch. So she's down on the count at no balls and 2 strikes. Senior batting .260. Coming into this game. And down on the count at no balls and 2 strikes. Here's a pitch. She'll try to check her swing. They're going to go, but I know she went. You got to call her out. She tried to check swing on a pitch that was a rise ball. She couldn't hold up on it. And it's out number 2. It's the first strikeout of the game for Brianna Vasquez. So here comes Nikki Kukrin, a senior first baseman, batting .364 coming into this game. She 0 for 4 yesterday with 2 strikeouts. Left-handed hitting Kukrin. Here is the first pitch from Brianna Vasquez, called strike 1 on that outside corner. 1-0 Northwestern leading Iowa. It's the bottom of the first inning. Rachel Lewis at second base. She singled in Skylar Shellmeyer, who started this at-bat with a double. Here is the 0-1 from Brianna Vasquez, a rise pitch that goes in a little bit high. So 1 ball and 1 strike on Nikki Kukrin. Kukrin with 40 hits in 138 at-bats. She's got 5 doubles and 1 home run to her credit. Here's the 1-1 from Brianna Vasquez, a pitch that Kukrin goes after and misses it. So it's strike 2. 1 ball and 2 strikes. To Nikki Kukrin, the senior first baseman. Hawks in their gold top, black pant for this second game. Here is the 1-2 that Kukrin will lift foul down the left field line. Northwestern in its traditional purple. So the count remains the same at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Vasquez getting the pitch signal from the bench. Now she checks the chart on her arm. Here's the windup and the release, and it's a foul ball back into the backstop. So the count again remains the same at 1 ball and 2 strikes. With Rachel Lewis at second base and 2 outs now, Nikki Kukrin down on the count at 1 ball and 2 strikes. Here's the pitch from Brianna Vasquez. Off-speed pitch. He gets up into the air and out into right center field. And a double, a sliding double for Nikki Kukrin. He gets just past Briley Klosterman. That'll score Rachel Lewis from second base and put Nikki Kukrin at second base with a double. She got a good pitch to hit, stroked it out into right center field. And on the move, around first, heading into second base with the slide ahead of the throw. And an RBI double for Nikki Kukrin. Brings up Angela Zedek. Zedek, the junior left fielder, homered yesterday. One of the 3 home runs that Northwestern hit in the day. And here's the first pitch to her. It's called strike 1. 2-0 the lead for Northwestern. Number 8 team in college softball. They've had a pretty hot season. As you can imagine, 36-7 overall and 16-2 in the Big Ten. Here is the 0-1 from Brianna Vasquez, a pitch that's fouled back into the backstop. When the Hawks come to the plate in the top of the second inning, it'll be Kalena Burns, the number 4 hitter. Hawks need to end this Northwestern at bat right here. Northwestern with 3 runs in yesterday's bottom of the first inning. They have 2 here today. Here's the 0-2 from Brianna Vasquez, a pitch that's down and away. And Zedek does not chase it. Angela Zedek yesterday was 3 out of 4. She did hit the home run in the later stages of that game. Here comes the 1-2 from Brianna Vasquez. Pitch that Zedek will hit up and foul back behind the press box. Zedek yesterday started her at-bats with a single. She doubled in the 5th and scored, and then she hit a 2-run home run in the 6th inning. So she had quite a day at the plate, 3 for 4. She's down on the count of the ball and 2 strikes. Here's the pitch from Brianna Vasquez, lifted up high into the air, pushing Nia Carter back to right field. She makes the catch and bounces into that right field wall, that fence wall, and that will end a Northwestern in this bottom of the 1st inning. But they get 2 runs to take a 2-0 lead. The Hawkeyes will be coming to bat in the top of the 2nd inning. You're listening to Iowa Hawkeye Softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network from Learfield and the YouTube channel and KXIC Radio.
When the Cyclones and Hawkeyes come to compete, it's where the rubber meets the road. Neighbors become rivals and friends become foes. Some go home broken-hearted, while others are victorious. When the dust finally settles, one thing stands true. No matter which side you're on, you're part of tradition for those who are Iowan through and through. We're Iowa Corn, a proud sponsor of the Iowa Corn Cy-Hawk Series. In Iowa, we grow corn, but the truth is, corn grows Iowa.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
And we head into the top of the 2nd inning. The Hawks trailing the Northwestern Wildcats by the score of 2-0. Kalena Burns will start it off for the Hawks as we move forward into this game number 2 of the 3-game series. Iowa baseball yesterday defeated Nebraska by the score of 1-0. Isaiah Fullard with a solo home run and the only run to stand up in the game. Iowa now with winning 9 of its last 10 games, 12 of its last 15, 17 of the last 22. But more importantly, they're in 3rd place in the Big Ten with a 9-4 record, 25-13 overall, and seem to be surging here in this stage of the game, although they've got a good month of baseball to go. They are in game number 2 here this afternoon against Nebraska. Kalena Burns steps to the plate and is looking at Sydney Supel. The left-handed Supel is up in the count now on Kalena, throwing one by her. Kalena in yesterday's game was 0 for 1 with a walk and a strikeout. She got hit by 2 pitches, 2 different at-bats. She was on base quite often. It was one of the things that was going on between her and Danielle Williams, and Williams hit her twice. Kalena had a couple of good looks out at Danielle after each of them as she walked down to first base, and now Kalena down on the count of the ball and 2 strikes. Had an RBI double in the Iowa State game on Wednesday this week. Steady performer, been playing a lot of first base for head coach Renee Gillespie. Here's the 1-2 from Sydney Supel, an off-speed pitch that's up and away, so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Not long ago, back on the 1st of April in the Maryland series and through the first game of the Nebraska doubleheader, she had hit safely in 7 of 8 games. Here's one that she hits out into the outfield, and it pushes back Shellmeyer out into center field. It goes off of the wall to the ground. Shellmeyer retrieves it and gets it back in quickly. So that is a long single for Kalena Burns. And I'm telling you, she is swinging the bat really so well, has just been very close to crushing some of these hits. And out, she's hit a lot of them foul, but she's swinging a nice bat. And here, she's proof of that with the single that she just hits here to start this top of the 2nd inning. Well, the Hawks had 10 runners left on base yesterday. Let's see if they can do at least half that here today and put some runs on the board as Haley Down now will come in and run for Kalena Burns. Haley Down is a freshman from Norwalk. She's done primarily pinch running, has started a couple games this year, but has been primarily a pinch runner. Down making her 32nd appearance. Here is Sophia Morris at the plate, the junior transfer from Des Moines Area Community College, where a year ago she was the National Junior College Player of the Year, left-handed hitting Morris out of Johnston. Here she tries to square and slap bunt it and misses, so she's the evens the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. She did have a hit yesterday and scored a run. Her hit was in the top of the 7th inning. Scored the 1 run that the Hawks got there. So the count even at 1 ball and 1 strike, and now head coach Renee Gillespie wanting to have a conversation with her about the pitches she is seeing and the pitches that she wants her to throw at. Supel seems to be having some pretty good control of her pitches today and strong. She throws a hard pitch. The Hawks seemed to rattle Danielle Williams a little bit yesterday in the circle, although she was the winning pitcher. There were a few innings that Iowa had a lot of long at-bats from players that a couple of them ended up in hits and a couple of them ended up in strikeouts, but nevertheless it made Danielle Williams throw a lot of pitches. Here's Sophia Morris looking at a pitch down and in, and again she squared to bunt and pulls back the bat. So she's ahead in the count at 2 balls and 1 strike. She's been surging here as of late, getting hits. She's kind of getting the good feel for it. Here's the 2-1 now. It becomes 2 balls and 2 strikes with a pitch right down the middle. Had a hit at Iowa State, an RBI single. She also walked in that game. Had a 4-game hitting streak going from all 3 of the Ohio State games and 2 in the first game at Illinois last weekend on Friday. One of them was a double. And here is Haley Down. So now the force at second base on Haley Down is Sophia Morris. Pokes one right back up through the middle to the center, to the circle. And Haley Down, they got her forced at second. I think the only reason that Supel could do that was because it was hit to her right side and she could just wheel and throw. And on a fielder's choice at first base is Sophia Morris, and that's 1 out. So it'll bring up Sammy Diaz. Sophia Morris now is just thrown out trying to steal second base. Head coach Renee Gillespie being a little bit aggressive here today. So that's quickly 2 gone, and Iowa's top of the 2nd inning. So it was Sammy Diaz that hit one to short. They forced her at second, and now a real light line drive right back to the pitcher. And that will end the Hawks here in the top of the 2nd inning. They hit the ball a couple of times, got a couple of different runners on, just couldn't move many forward any. A couple of forces at second base, and then the line drive by Grace Baines will end this top of the 2nd inning. So we'll head to the bottom of the 2nd inning. Northwestern will be coming to the plate, leading this game 2-0. You're listening to Iowa Hawkeye Softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network from Learfield and YouTube channel on AM 800 KXIC.
Here with little tips for a healthier planet. Globally, about 1,000 plants we depend on for food and products need to be pollinated by animals, including coffee, melons, chocolate, almonds, and even tequila. Help stabilize the declining honeybee population by planting native plants that they rely on for food, habitat, and nesting. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
And the Hawkeyes are in Evanston, Illinois to face off with the Northwestern Wildcats. This is the 2nd game of the 3-game series between them. Northwestern wins yesterday 9-5, scored 3 in the bottom of the 1st, 1 in the 4th, 2 in the 5th, and 3 more in the 6th to get to their 9 runs. Iowa with 1 run in the 1st, a solo home run from Denali Lecker. Hawks did pick up 3 in the top of the 5th inning to tie the game at 4 and could only get 1 more run in the top of the 7th inning, thus losing that game 9-5. Hawks again at 2-16 in the Big Ten. Northwestern at 16-2. So at the plate is Hannah Cady. Cady is the sophomore third baseman, batting .279 coming into the game. Here's the first pitch from Brianna Vasquez that Cady squares to slap bunt it and bunts it foul. So she's down in the count. Had a ball and no strikes. Cady a year ago started 15 of 27 games she played, batted .209 with 9 hits and 44 at bats. Here's the 0-1 to her that's now it's 2 balls and no strikes. She's very close on those pitches. They're just a little bit below the knees, but right down the middle. Here are the 2-0 to Cady, and it's called strike 1. Hannah Cady. Hannah Cady, a sophomore from Clarkston, Michigan. Here's the 2-1 to her that's just off the plate, so it's 3 balls and 1 strike. Brianna Vasquez in the circle with the pitch call from the dugout. Now here's the windup and the throw. She right down the middle, and Cady will foul back into the backstop, so it becomes a full count at 3 balls and 2 strikes. Vasquez transfer from Central Florida, where last year in the 2020 season, we'll say, and that was the pandemic year, and here's the 3-2 pitch that now becomes ball 4. So Hannah Cady will walk. That is the first base on balls issued by Brianna Vasquez here today. Vasquez in the 2020 season, pandemic year, she had a 4-1 record coming out of just before the pandemic hit, and she had a 1.79 ERA throwing 31 innings. But in her freshman year, back in 2019, 142 2/3 innings pitched at Central Florida and a 1.72 ERA. Here is the first pitch to Ayanna Lindsey. Now, if that name rings a bell to any of you listeners, Ayanna Lindsey is a freshman from Iowa City, prepping at City High School. Had a fine high school career there. This is just her 5th start of the season, her 37th appearance. Here is the 0-1 to her that is called strike 2 in the outside corner. She's got 5 hits and 15 at-bats. She has hit a home run on the season. Remember her having some good pop in that bat in high school. So with an 0-2 count now, here comes the pitch from Vasquez that's up and away, so it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Here now is the 1-2 from Brianna Vasquez to Ayanna Lindsey, the number 8 hitter in the lineup. She's the designated player today. And the pitch upstairs. 2 balls and 2 strikes. Runner at first is Hannah Cady. She just walked. The number 8 hitter, and Ayanna Lindsey, is at the plate. The number 9 hitter, Grace Nito, will follow. Here is the 2-2 from Brianna Vasquez, one that Ayanna Lindsey lifts foul back behind the backstop. So the count remains the same at 2-2. Good crowd on hand here at Sharon Drysdale Field. Here's the 2-2 from Brianna Vasquez. A pitch, a swing, and a miss. Nice pitch by Brianna. An off-speed pitch that Ayanna Lindsey got out in front of. So the first out of the at-bat here for Northwestern brings up the number 9 hitter in Grace Nito. And don't think that this is going to be an easy out. Nito yesterday was 3 for 3. She didn't score at any time during the game yesterday, but she had 3 singles in the game. She's at the plate. Here's the first offering, a pitch that she's slaps right at Grace Baines. And the line drive caught and a snap throw across the diamond to Kalena Burns. Not in time to get Hannah Cady, but it does make her scamper back quickly. So that's out number 2 in Northwestern's bottom of the second inning. But it brings up the top of the order, and Skylar Shellmeyer. Shellmeyer doubled in her first at-bat, scored on the single by Rachel Lewis. Here's the first pitch from Brianna Vasquez. Off the plate, ball 1. One ball and no strike to Skylar Shellmeyer. Batting .355 coming into the game. Here's the 1-0. It now becomes 1 ball and 1 strike. Shellmeyer trying to slap at it and misses it. She has 54 hits, now 55 hits and 153 at-bats. And she hit her 8th double of the season in their last at-bat. Count even at 1-1. Here's the pitch from Brianna Vasquez. Upstairs, and it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Two to nothing lead for Northwestern. It's the bottom of the second inning. Couple outs. See if the Hawks can end it right here. Here's the 2-1. It's a ground ball going right to Sammy Diaz on a couple of hops. Able to glove it and get it to Kalena Burns for the ground out on Skylar Shellmeyer. That is a big out, folks. It's the 3rd out of the bottom of the second inning, and the score remains the same. Northwestern 2, Iowa nothing. This is Iowa Hawkeye softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel from Learfield and KXIC Radio.
Looking for a place to go before and after Hawkeye home games? Make a night of it at Graduate Iowa City Hotel. Take advantage of our in-house Topgolf Swing Suite for a full bar and a menu of American classics, and most importantly, a selection of exciting virtual games from favorites like golf, football, and baseball to more unique options like zombie dodgeball. Call 319-337-4058 for details and reservations at Graduate Iowa City Hotel.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
University of Iowa Sports Medicine delivers comprehensive care for competitive and recreational athletes of all ages. Our team of orthopedic surgeons, physicians, and specialists are committed to reducing pain and injury through our advanced training and experience. Same-day, next-day appointments available, no referral needed. Learn more by visiting uihc.org/sportsmedicine. Glad to have you along here this afternoon. AM 800 KXIC out of Iowa City, Iowa City's local station. Bringing you Iowa Hawkeye softball from Northwestern. I'm Jerry Koala. Hawks winding down the regular season, hoping to make it into the Big Ten tournament. They've got to win at least one game. We've got to try to win this game. We've got to win the game today and win 2 of 3, if not sweep all of Purdue next week to really have an opportunity to make that Big Ten conference tournament. They take just the top 12 teams. Right now, Iowa in that 14th spot with this 2-16 record. Marissa Peak will start it off for the Hawks. And the first pitch from Sydney Supel is upstairs. Peak yesterday 1 for 4 with an RBI single in that game. That happened in the 7th inning. Here is the 1-0 to her that she takes a good cut at and misses. Didn't play in the Iowa State game, and she played in just one of the 3 Illinois games, catching in the first game on Friday the 22nd. Here is an off-speed pitch that, will she go around? I believe they say no, she does not. She checks swing well enough, didn't cross that plate with the bat, and so she's up in the count at 2 balls and 1 strike. So Marissa had broken 5-game hitless streak with the hit yesterday in the game. Her last hit prior to that was in the 2nd game of the Nebraska doubleheader back on the 12th of April. She does have 6 multi-hit games on the season, though. She had a 5-game hitting streak earlier this year in March. Here is the 2-2, a swing and a miss by Marissa, and she's down on strikes. That is the third strikeout of the game for Sydney Supel, and it's the first out of the top of the third inning. It's the bottom of the order. It's Riley Sheehy stepping in the left-handed batter's box for the Hawkeyes. Riley had a pinch running role in yesterday's game. Here's one that just misses her shoulder. She was able to turn away from it. A pinch running role that resulted in no credit. She had a hit in the Iowa State game, 1 for 2, and she walked in the Iowa State game. Here's the 1-0 that she'll pop up, and it goes back beyond the backstop, and she'll come back to the left-handed batter's box with a 1-1 count on her. Had a 3-game hitting streak going in the Ohio State series where she had a single in each of those games, an RBI in the first 2 games, and one of the hits was a double. Here's the 1-1 that now becomes 2 balls and 1 strike. Riley Sheehy, senior from Newtown, Pennsylvania, which is just outside of Trenton, west of Trenton, New Jersey, and northeast of Philadelphia about an hour. Had an interesting path to get to the university. She went to the University of South Carolina Upstate for her first year of softball, where she actually did okay. Played in 45 games for South Carolina Upstate. And then she transferred here to the university, where in her first year as a Hawkeye, the pandemic year, she had 12 hits and 32 at-bats. Last year, she started and played in all 44 games, batting .288. Here's the 3-1 inside, ball 4. So Riley Sheehy will draw a 1-out walk, and that will bring up Briley Klosterman. Sheehy on the season, that is the 12th base on balls that she has earned. So with 1 out, Riley Sheehy at first base, Briley Klosterman the top of the order at the plate. Briley struck out in her first at-bat. Looking out at Sydney Supel, lefty to lefty. Here is the pitch. It's one that's just off the plate, 1 ball and no strikes to Briley. Had a hit yesterday, scored a run. She also walked yesterday and struck out. Had 2 hits in the Iowa State game on Wednesday. Had a 5-4 loss for the Hawks. She's been leading off for Iowa for quite some time. I know about mid-season last year, she had started every game, 43 of the 44 games last year, but she hadn't been leading off until about mid-season. Here is a swing and a miss. Trying to steal is Riley Sheehy, and she is caught trying to steal second base, and a nice throw by Jordan Rudd. And that is 2 gone in Iowa's top of the third inning. She trying to steal second base. On the move she goes and headed out right as the pitch started. It was a close play. Sheehy on the season was 4 for 4 in the stolen base department. Now is 4 for 5. And for Jordan Rudd behind the plate, that's the 12th runner that she has caught trying to steal a base. 12 in 30 attempts. Pretty good percentage for Jordan Rudd. Briley Klosterman remains at the plate, has a 1-1 count on her. Here's the pitch she swings at and misses. Got out in front of that off-speed pitch. So she's down to the count of the ball and 2 strikes. Game number 3 tomorrow between the Hawks and Northwestern is a noon start. That will not be on AM 800 KXIC. It will be, though, on the Sports Radio Network YouTube channel. Here is the 1-2 that she is jammed on, gets around on, and rips it fouled on the first base line. That's the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel. You can watch and listen to the Iowa Hawkeye broadcast. 2-0 the lead for Northwestern. We're in the top of the third inning. Hawks just getting to their second time around at the at-bats. Here is a pitch that's well outside. Supel trying to entice Brody Klosterman to go out and chase that, and she does not. So it's an even count at 2-2 on the sophomore center fielder, Brody Klosterman. Here's the 2-2, and it's one that Brody gets around on again and will foul it down the first base line. Brody with 10 multi-hit games this season. One of them a 3-hit game. The others are all nine of them are 2-hit games. She did have a 4-game hitting streak going from game number 2 against Nebraska through the Ohio State series. That 3-hit game occurred in the third game of the Ohio State series. Here's the 2-2, an off-speed pitch that is off the plate. So a full count now on Brody Klosterman. 2 outs, and Iowa's top of the third. This at-bat started with a strikeout from Marissa Peak. Riley Sheehy would walk and was caught trying to steal second base for the second out. Here's the 3-2 to Sheehy to Brody Klosterman, and again gets around on it, fouls it back into the football practice field behind Sharon Drysdale Softball Complex. Got a football practice field behind the stadium in Welsh Ryan Arena. The basketball gymnasium to the left. There's just had enough room to put a softball diamond in. Here's the 3-2, a pitch that's upstairs, and Brody Klosterman will draw a walk. So Brody on to the 2-out walk. We'll bring up Nia Carter. Klosterman walked once in yesterday's game. Now she got her second walk of the weekend. On the season for Brody is the 28th walk that she has drawn, and that leads the Iowa Hawkeyes in base on balls. Here is Nia Carter. The first pitch to her is off the plate. Ball 1. Nia bounced one back to Sydney Supel in the circle in her first at-bat. Ahead of the count on a ball and no strikes. Here's the 1-0. Upstairs, 2-0. On the junior from Rancho Cucamonga, California. She hit safely in 13 of her first 15 games to begin this season. She has 17 multi-hit games on the season, one of them a 5-hit game, which occurred earlier this season, and it tied a single-game hitting record for this Iowa Hawkeye softball program. Tied 3 other players, Christy Hebert, Brandy Messias, and Liz Watkins. All had 5-hit games in their career. Now you can add Nia Carter to that list. And among those 17 multi-hit games, the 1 5-hit, she has 1 4-hit game. That was against Ohio State. She has a 3-hit game, and the others are 2-hit games. So very talented left-handed hitter is Nia Carter in the number 2 spot in the lineup. Here's the 2-0 from Sydney Supel, down and in. 3 balls and no strikes. Brody Klosterman drew a 2-out walk. She's at first base. Nia Carter is at the plate with a 3-0 count on her. I'm assuming she will take this pitch. Here it comes from Supel. She does. It's right down the middle, and it's strike 1. Hawks needing to get a runner across, at least get that goose egg off of the scoreboard. Trailing 2-0 here in the top of the third inning. 2 outs. The number 2 hitter, Nia Carter, at the plate. Brody Klosterman at first. Here's the 3-1, an upstairs pitch that's high, and another walk. Back-to-back walks issued by Sydney Supel. That's actually 3 in a row. She walked Riley Sheehy, who was caught trying to steal second. Then she walked Brody Klosterman and now has walked Nia Carter. So that's a trio of walks in as many at-bats. And then it brings up the dangerous Denali Lecker with 2 runners on and 2 out. Here's the first pitch to her that is upstairs, so it's 1 ball and no strikes. Denali with 2 hits yesterday, one of them a home run. It was a solo home run. She has hit 5 of her home runs in the last 9 games, all solo or all single game home runs. Here's the 1-0 that now becomes 2 balls and no strikes. Had a hit in the Iowa State game, scored a run. So in essence, she's on a very short 2-game hitting streak. Although has hit safely in 7 of her last 8 games, the only game that she didn't get a hit was in the second game of the doubleheader against Illinois last Saturday. Otherwise, she had been on a 5-game hitting streak back in the Ohio State series, where she hit a solo home run in that first game against Ohio State. Had a hit in the second game, and then she had 2 hits in the third game, and that was another home run against Ohio State. So Denali Lecker really started to swing a good bat. Ahead in the count of 2 balls and no strikes. Here's the pitch to her. She gets a good cut at and fouls it back into the backstop. She knew she was going to get a good pitch to hit, went after it, and unfortunately fouled it back into the backstop. She's got good power, good strength with that swing right through the strike zone. Hawks are trailing 2-0 here. Need to work some runners around the bases, touch home plate a few times. And a 2-1 count on Denali. Brody Klosterman at second, Nia Carter at first. Here's the 2-1 pitch from Sydney Supel to Denali Lecker. Upstairs, 3 balls and 1 strike. Looking at Kalena Burns next. If Denali can get on. She knows she's going to get a pretty decent pitch to hit here. Here's the 3-1 from Sydney Supel. Pitch that she gets around on, just nubs it right back to Sydney Supel in the circle, and that will end the Hawks here in the top of the 3rd inning. Had 2 runners on when the inning ended. Hawks are slowly starting to work their way to getting runners on. Hopefully they can start getting them across. But they still trail 2-0 as we head into the bottom of the 3rd inning. This is Iowa Hawkeye Softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network from Learfield and YouTube channel and KXIC Radio.
I'm 7-time NBA champion Robert Ory.
And I'm former NBA writer turned podcaster Jabari Davis. And we're excited to introduce our new podcast, NBA Finals File. Each week, we will deep dive into one of the greatest NBA Finals series of all time and examine the moments and storylines that made NBA history. And we will do it with a man who knows all about finals.
For 3. Oh, unbelievable. This guy is off the charts.
Check out NBA Finals File on the iHeart Radio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
Home of the Hawkeyes, Finkbine Golf Course and Bumps Restaurant is open for the 2022 golf season, featuring 18 holes of public golf at Finkbine, as well as handcrafted American fare. Stop by today to enjoy quality golf and delicious food at Bumps Restaurant. Speaking of golf, the men's Big Ten championships going on at French Lick, Indiana. After round 1 yesterday, Michigan State was the team leader at 12 under 276. Wisconsin second at 4 under 284. The Hawkeyes were in 12th place at 12 over 300. The leading individual golfer was Adrian Dumont de Chassart at 8 under 64, which is 1 shot off of the single round record. Adrian Dumont de Chassart. Iowa's Garrett Teig is in 17th place with an even par 72. So as we start here at the bottom of the 3rd inning, Rachel Lewis comes to the plate, pops one up to right field at Nia Carter for the first out of the bottom of the 3rd inning. And round 2 is going on today. It'll go through round 3 tomorrow, 54-hole tournament at French Lick, Indiana. This is the Big Ten Golf Championships. 1 out at Northwestern's bottom of the 3rd inning. They continue to lead at 2-0. Got 2 runs in the bottom of that 1st inning, and so far so good for them. Hawks just unable to answer against Sydney Supel. So it brings up Jordan Rudd. Rudd flew up to Brody Klosterman in her first at-bat. Here is the off-speed pitch to her that's up and away. Rudd, though, is no stranger to success at the plate. In a previous series against Indiana, she was on base 12 of the 13 at-bats, had 3 home runs, scored 6 runs, had 6 runs batted in. She walked 6 times. So she was on a rise then, And she's now ahead in the count against Brianna Vasquez, 3 balls and no strikes. Denali Lecker went 6 innings yesterday, and she had some moments during the game that thought maybe head coach Renee Gillespie would replace her with either Brianna Vasquez or Devin Greer, but Denali able to pitch her way out of that. Here's the 3-0, becomes ball 4, and so Jordan Rudd will draw a 1-out walk here in the bottom of the 3rd inning. That will bring up Maeve Nelson. Nelson struck out in her first at-bat. Nelson coming in with a .260 batting average. 32 hits, now in 124 at-bats, 7 doubles, a triple. She does have 9 home runs, though, and one of them was hit yesterday. She hit it off of Welsh Ryan Arena about halfway up the wall out in left center field. Head coach Katie Drohan out and talking to her offense, and head coach Renee Gillespie of the Hawks is in the circle to talk with that Hawkeye defense, and pitcher Brianna Vasquez. Katie Drohan is in her 21st season with Northwestern. Has had great success there. Renee Gillespie in her 4th year with the University of Iowa, trying to rebuild. Has some nice talent, good young talent. They're coming along. They've got great team unity. Starting to put things together. Need to come away with some wins, though. Obviously, winning is the answer. So Maeve Nelson, she struck out in her first at-bat, steps to the plate. Again, she was 2 for 3 yesterday. Blasted a home run. Here's the first pitch from Brianna Vasquez, one that Nelson gets around on and will foul it back. Maeve Nelson, again, hit that home run, a solo home run in the first inning. She would walk, ground out, and then she singled in her last at-bat yesterday. She's down on the count at a ball and no strikes to Brianna Vasquez. Runner at first base. Here is the pitch, and it's right on that outside corner. Nice pitch by Brianna Vasquez. Good spot placement to make it strike 2. No balls and 2 strikes on Nelson. Nelson was on the all-freshman team, the Big Ten, in 2019, but she also was a second-team All-Big Ten performer that same year. Here's the 0-2 from Brianna Vasquez, one that Nelson will lift high into the infield. Coming down from third base is Grace Baines to make the play, and that is out number 2 in Northwestern's bottom of the 3rd inning. Brings up Nikki Kukrin with a runner at first base. Nikki Kukrin, the number 2 hitter on the Northwestern team, with a .364 average coming into the game. She doubled in her first at-bat, which was her 7th double of the season. And she's at the plate. Here's the first pitch from Brianna Vasquez, down and in. 1 ball and no strikes. Bottom of the 3rd inning, Northwestern with a 2-0 lead. They scored both of those runs in the bottom of the 1st. And just continue to maintain it here. Now we're in the bottom of the 3rd. 1-0 count on Nikki Kukrin. Here's the 1-0. That's now 2 balls and no strikes. A pitch that's up and away from Brianna Vasquez. Maeve Nelson just drew a walk. She is at, it's Jordan Rudd at first base after drawing a walk. Here is the 2-0 from Brianna Vasquez. And a pitch that's called strike 2. Good spot placement. It's right at knee high, almost even a little bit low, but the umpire likes that pitch. He's been very consistent calling the strikes in that area. And Brianna Vasquez has consistently been able to hit that spot. Here comes the 2-1. Kukrin will get around on it, foul it back into the backstop, so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. On the senior first baseman. Second leading hitter on the team. 4-year player. See, the number 17 hitter in all of the Big Ten. And a count even on her at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Here's the pitch from Vasquez that's upstairs. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Kukrin last year batted .299, 40 hits and 134 at-bats, having started and played in all 47 games. Count now full at 3 balls and 2 strikes. Runner at first and Jordan Rudd. Here comes the pitch, and now Marissa Peak asks for a timeout, trying to get the dugout to speed up a little bit with the pitch call. And now we're back to normal. Here's the 3-2 from Brianna Vasquez, a pitch that Kukrin will get around on and foul it back into the backstop. So the count remains the same at 3 balls and 2 strikes. Temperature in the low 50s, 51 degrees actually right now in Northwestern. They're in Evanston, Illinois, and northern Chicago. Breeze at about 10 to 15 miles an hour. Here's the 3-2, an off-speed pitch that she rips out into right field. Nia Carter quickly getting there, throwing it into first base to Kalena Burns. Can't get that runner. Jordan Rudd quickly around second to third. And actually, a pinch runner is running for Jordan Rudd. It is Emmy Farnham and Emmy Farnham. She now is at third base after the base hit by Nikki Kukrin. Kukrin 2 for 2 on the day. Left-handed hitter. It'll bring up Angela Zedek. Zedek flew out to Nia Carter in her first at-bat. Zedek, a .234 hitter coming into the game. She does have some pop in this bat. Here is the first pitch to her that's down and away. And I say that because she has 8 doubles and 8 home runs and 30 runs batted in. She has a teammate at third base, a teammate at first base, and there are 2 outs. See if the Hawks can induce another out here. 1 ball and no strikes on Angela Zedek. Here's the pitch to her. Off speed, up and away. 2 balls and no strikes. Kukrin at first base. Emma Farnham is pinch running at third base. 2 outs. And here's the pitch from Brianna Vasquez. Off speed, nice pitch. She gets Zedek to swing and miss at it. And it's a 2 ball and 1 strike count. Zedek yesterday, 3 for 4. And she hit a home run. Up at the count of 2 balls and a strike. Here's the pitch from Brianna Vasquez. A foul back into the backstop. So that evens the count at 2-2. Getting to be a pretty nice day here in Northwestern. Actually, you can see a little bit of sunshine has popped up. They are anticipating more rain to move in at some point this afternoon, but right now it's pleasant. I mean, it could be 70 and sunny, but they'll take what they get in the lower 50s and sunny. Here's a pitch that's fouled back into the backstop. So the count remains the same at 2 balls and 2 strikes on Angela Zedek. Zedek, a junior right there out of Chicago. Made the grade, wanted to play softball. Here she is wearing the purple for the Northwestern Wildcats. 2 outs, bottom of the third, 2-0 lead for Northwestern. Here's the 2-2 from Brianna Vasquez. Pitch that Zedek will lift down the right field line. Hustling over is Nia Carter making the catch. Kind of a circus catch. The wind was playing havoc because it's blowing in from right field. And Nia Carter kind of had to adjust her positioning, but does make the catch, and that will end Northwestern here in the bottom of the third inning. The Wildcats continue to lead the Hawks here as we head into the top of the fourth. It'll be number 4 hitter Kalena Burns when play continues. It's Northwestern 2, Iowa nothing. You're listening to Iowa Hawkeye Softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel from Learfield and KXIC Radio.
Save big money on your next project with 11% off everything. Novik Stack Stone siding panels replicate the natural hand-laid look of stacked stone masonry at a fraction of the cost. And they're easy
easy to install. Start your next project today and get 11% off. Novik Stack Stone Siding Panels. Good through April 30th. Savings are a mail-in rebate. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
Hey, Iowa Hawkeye football fans, here's your chance to continue to be a part of this Iowa Hawkeye football program after they've had a successful spring when they realized they got a lot of work to do to get ready for their fall opener against South Dakota State. You, as the fans, have a chance to pick a new song for the Hawkeye Wave that occurs at the end of each first quarter of the home games, as they acknowledge and recognize patients and families that are at the top level of the University of Iowa Steed Family Children's Hospital. Nominate a song by going on HawkeyeSports.com/wave. The top 8 songs will be voted on by fans on the 11th of July, narrowed to 4, narrowed to a second round to 2, and then the final round will determine the anthem, which will be announced on August 1st in anticipation of the first game the Hawkeyes play on September 3rd against South Dakota State. So you want to be a part of that. HawkeyeSports.com/wave. Kalenna Burns at the plate for the Hawks. She's down in the count at no balls and 1 strike against Sydney Supel. Here is the 0-1 that's upstairs on Kalenna. And Kalenna's first at bat today, she singled. Ripped a single out over top of center field, and the count even at 1 ball and 1 strike. Here is the pitch to her off speed that's upstairs, so it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Had one official at bat yesterday. She walked once, and she was hit by a pitch twice in 2 at bats. Had a RBI, 2 RBI double in the Iowa State game. Here are the 2-1 that she lifts foul back behind the backstop, getting around on those pitches. But she had a nice hitting streak going. She had, back in the Maryland series in the first game, had a single there all the way through the first game of the Nebraska series. That encompassed 8 games where she hit safely in 7 of those games. Here is the 2-2 that's upstairs, so 3 balls and 2 strikes on the junior from Corona, California. She's played in numerous positions for the Hawks. A lot of first base. She's pinch hit a lot, which she did a lot last year. She has played some third base. She actually started the first dozen games or so this year at third base. Here she draws a walk, a leadoff walk to Kalenna Burns to start the top of the 4th inning. I don't think that head coach Renee Gillespie will be able to put a pinch runner in for her at this point. Sydney Supel on the day. The 4th walk she has allowed today. She had 3 of them in a row back in the Hawkeyes' top of the 3rd inning. Iowa not able to do anything with it. Sophia Morris now steps to the plate. She slaps the bunt one and bunts it into the air, racing down the third base line, and making the catch for Northwestern is Hannah Cady. And that's the first out. She tried to stab at it versus try to put it down on the ground, and she popped it up into the air. So it does not move Kalenna Burns on to second base. With a sacrifice bunt, it becomes actually an out. Sammy Diaz will come to the plate. Sammy reached on a fielder's choice in her first at-bat. Had a hit yesterday. Actually had quite the game yesterday. She walked. She had a base hit. Had a number of put-outs at second base. She's down in the count now to ball and no strikes. This is the top of the 4th inning. Iowa and Northwestern from Evanston, Illinois. Big Ten action. Here is the 0-1 that Sammy will lift foul down the right field line and out of play. This is a key battle for the Hawkeyes. Northwestern has pretty much secured the first place in the Big Ten. They have a 16-2 record. Nebraska second at 14-3. Nebraska lost to Ohio State yesterday 6-2. Illinois is in there at 3rd place with a 13-4 record. Here is the 0-2 that's upstairs, and Sammy doesn't chase after. Illinois at 13-4 defeated Indiana 6-4 yesterday. Maryland at 13-5 and in 4th place. Won at Michigan State yesterday 7-2. Wisconsin in 5th place with 11-5 record. And Wisconsin defeated Penn State 1-0. Here is the pitch that's lifted out to left field by Sammy Diaz. And making the play out there in left field is Angela Zedek. And so that's out number 2 for the Hawks in this top of the 4th inning. That'll bring up Grace Baines. Baines, the number 7 hitter in the lineup. She lined back to Sydney Supel in the circle in her first at-bat. Has teammate Kalena Burns on at first base. Here's the first pitch from Sydney Supel. Pitch that's down the middle called strike 1. Grace had a hit yesterday in 3 at-bats. Also had a hit in the Iowa State game. So she is on a 5-game hitting streak coming into today's game. Here's the 0-1 from Supel outside. Ball 1. She had been on a lengthy hitless streak where she was hitless in 10 of 11 games all the way back to the Oklahoma game on March 20th. Here's the 1-1 that she lifts up into the infield foul, and coming down third base line and making the play for the 3rd out of the inning is Hannah Cady, and that will end the Hawks in the top of the 4th inning. We are through 3 1/2. Northwestern coming to the plate. They'll have Hannah Cady, the number 7 hitter. When play resumes, it's Northwestern 2, Iowa nothing. You're listening to Iowa Hawkeye Softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel from Learfield and KXIC Radio.
Call Premier. Premier Automotive in North Liberty is Eastern Iowa's most trusted name in auto body repair. Our premier reputation is built on providing superior customer service, accurate estimates, and high-quality work. Our experienced staff guarantees your vehicle is restored and back on the road in no time. Premier Automotive in North Liberty or online at premierautoiowa.com. Drive safely, but if you hit a deer, call Premier.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
And we head into the bottom of the 4th inning. It's the Northwestern Wildcats leading the Hawks by the score of 2-0. After today, the Hawks and the Northwestern Wildcats will play their 3rd and final game of the season tomorrow at noon. That's a noon start. That'll be on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel. I'll have that broadcast for you a little bit before the hour of noon. Iowa then at Northern Iowa, a very good Northern Iowa team this year. That'll be Wednesday in Cedar Falls. That's a 5 o'clock start. And then the Hawks are home for the regular season finale, the weekend finale against Purdue, 5 o'clock next Friday, 2 o'clock next Saturday, and then the noon game on Sunday. And hopefully the Hawks will have enough wins and be in that no less than 12th spot to make it into the Big Ten Conference Tournament. But we can only wait and see what happens between now and then. Hannah Cady steps to the left-handed batter's box, and she looks at a first pitch ball. So 1 ball and no strikes from Brianna Vasquez. Here's the 1-0 from Brianna, and this pitch is down and away. So 2 balls and no strikes. As I talked about, Denali Lecker went all 6 yesterday. Northwestern didn't have to bat in the bottom of the 7th inning. She gave up 14 hits, 9 runs. All of them were earned. And head coach Renee Gillespie certainly has the confidence in Denali to pitch her way through incidents, and she did. Here's the 2-0. Cady will lift it out to left field, and it'll drop just inside the right field line in front of Riley Sheehy. And Sheehy quickly gets to it to second base where Sammy Diaz is, but Hannah Cady now with a leadoff single here in the bottom of the 4th inning. And it brings up Ayanna Lindsey, the freshman out of Iowa City who prepped at City High School. Had an excellent high school career. She's batting .333. He's a designated player today. Ayanna with her 5th start of the season and her 37th appearance. 5 hits in 16 at-bats. She, though, has scored 19 runs, and now I believe head coach Katie Drohan is going to go with a pinch hitter. Sydney Supel. Okay, so the designated player will come into play, and Sydney Supel is going to move into this at-bat. Here is the first pitch to her. That's up and away. Here is the second pitch. It's called strike one. So Sydney Supel will be batting for Ayanna Lindsey here in the bottom of the fourth inning, the number 8 hitter. And she's even the count of 1-1. Here's one that's an off-speed pitch that she'll lift into the infield. Sammy Diaz will drift to her left and make the catch for the first out of this inning. And it brings up Grace Nito. Grace Nito had a line drive hit to Grace Baines at third in her first at-bat. Nito coming into the game at a .298 batting average, 31 hits, now in 105 at-bats. Here she fake squares the bunt and pulls it back and is looking at ball one. Runner at first in Hannah Katie. She just singled. Northwestern continues to lead 2-0. They got those 2 runs in the bottom of the first inning, and they've held up so far. Here is the 1-0 from Brianna Vasquez, right down the middle, called strike one. Nito is showing slap hitting or slap bunt and forcing those Iowa Hawkeye defenders, especially Kalena Burns and Grace Baines down the first and third base lines respectively, to move forward. And this, she might just try to pop one by them. Here's the 1-1 from Brianna Vasquez. That's high, so it's 2 balls and 1 strike. To Grace Nito, freshman from Farmington Hills, Michigan. Here's the 2-1 from Brianna Vasquez, a pitch that Nito gets around on but swings and misses. I think she was a little bit fooled as Vasquez with a hard one in. I think Nito was looking for an off-speed pitch. Nito has started and played in all 44 games for Northwestern as a freshman. Here is the 2-2 from Brianna Vasquez. One that's bounced to Grace Baines at third. She goes to second for the force. And they get it. Nice play by Grace going to her left, and a nice calm throw to Sammy Diaz to get the lead runner in Hannah Katie at second base for the force out. And that will put Grace Nito at first on a fielder's choice, but bring up the top of the order in Skylar Shellmeyer. Shellmeyer grounded out to Sammy Diaz in her second at bat and doubled and scored. Back in the first inning, she led off the game with a double, and she scored on the single by Rachel Lewis. Here's the first pitch from Brianna Vasquez. Off the plate, ball one. Shellmeyer was 1 for 3 in yesterday's game with a run scored. She has a walk to her credit. .355 hitter coming into the game today. She now 55 and 154 at-bats, 8 doubles, no triples, and 1 home run. Has a teammate at first base, 2 outs. Here's the 1-0 from Brianna Vasquez. Pitch down the middle, called strike one. Nice pitch. You can see Shellmeyer looking out at Brianna Vasquez saying, that's not the pitch I thought you were going to throw, because it froze her at the plate. Brianna threw it right by her. 1 ball and 1 strike. Oh, crafty Brianna Vasquez, the senior from Central Florida College transfer. Here's the 1-1, now becomes 1 ball and 2 strikes. And you can just see Shellmeyer is just frustrated. Thought maybe she was going to be able to slap hit one, and it was a rise ball that she can't even connect with. Vasquez from Norwalk, California, which is in the Los Angeles area, went to Central Florida to begin with, and then now she had transferred to Iowa. Here is the 1-2 that she'll pop up into the infield. Marissa Peak coming out from behind the catcher's stance down the first base line in foul territory to make the catch and the out. And that's another big out, folks. Get the leadoff hitter to pop up like that to the infield, and that's the 3rd out of the inning. We've played 4. We head to the top of the 5th It'll be Marissa Peak, the number 8 hitter for the Hawks, when play resumes. Northwestern 2, Iowa nothing. This is Iowa Hawkeye softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel from Learfield and KXIC Radio.
Hi, Hawkeye fans. My name is Denali. And I'm Riley. And we're members of your Iowa Hawkeye softball team. Our team is striving to be number 1. And that's why we trust our vehicles to Iowa City Tire and Service, the number 1 automotive shop in Iowa City, where service actually comes first. Iowa City Tire and Service, where their customers become friends because they treat you like family. Find them at 410 Kirkwood Avenue or online at ictire.com. Proud sponsors of Hawkeye Softball.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
And I want to add to that, I talked to Andy Miller yesterday, the new owner of Iowa City Tire, and a long-time supporter of University of Iowa athletics. Iowa City Tire will be sponsoring our radio game next Sunday when Iowa hosts Purdue in the regular season finale. I want to thank Andy Miller for his time yesterday and for his sponsorship of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on AM 800 KXIC. That'll be next Sunday. Heading into the top of the 5th inning, kind of becoming crunch time for the Hawks. You left 10 runners on base yesterday. Today, not nearly as many, but still no runs in. 4 left on base to date. Here's the pitch to Marissa Peak that's popped up foul right over top of the University of Iowa dugout, and the third baseman unable to get to it, Hannah Cady. And so Marissa Peak will remain alive in this at-bat with a no ball and 1 strike count on her. Peak caught in yesterday's game as well at an RBI single, and that was in that 7th inning. Marissa Peak hit in Sophia Morris, who walked to or single to begin that game, or that at-bat. Here's one that hits to shortstop to Maeve Nelson, going to her left and deep in shortstop. She tried to wheel and throw, and she throws a hopper past the first baseman, Nikki Kukrin, and that allowed Marissa Peak to get to first base. It'll be an error. I'm assuming it'll be an error on Maeve Nelson going to her left and making a bad throw. So that'll put Marissa Peak at first base. Nobody out, and Riley Sheehy now will come to the plate, and Zoe Schulte will come in and run for Marissa Peak. Zoe Schulte comes in here in the top of the 5th inning to pinch run for Marissa Peak. Zoe pinch ran yesterday. And she did score a run yesterday. She's been making her 24th appearance. Here is the first pitch to Riley Sheehy. Sheehy's pitch is down and in on her. Zoe Schulte has started the couple games. She has scored 10 runs on the season. Runner at first base, the number 9 hitter, and Riley Sheehy at the plate. 1-0 on the count. Here's one that she'll bunt right to the circle. Having to come out of the circle forward is Sydney Supel. And Riley Sheehy does her job in sacrificing Zoe Schulte onto second base. And that'll bring up the top of the order, Briley Klosterman, with Zoe Schulte, a runner in scoring position. Briley walked in her last at-bat, struck out in her first at-bat, so 0 for 1 on the day. Here is the first pitch to her that's off the plate, ball 1. Had a hit in yesterday's game, scored a run. She also walked and struck out. Started 43 of the 44 games she played in last year, hit .316 by the end of the year, 37 hits, 117 at-bats, 4 triples, and she hit her first 2 home runs of her career as an Iowa Hawkeye. She had in the count at 1 ball to no strikes. Has a teammate in Zoe Schulte at second base. Zoe running for Marissa Peak. Here is the 1-0 from Sydney Supel, one that Brody gets around on and rips it foul down the right field line, out of the park, but well foul. She did that in her first at-bat, too, just getting around on some of those pitches a little bit more quickly and hitting them foul. So she'll have a 1-1 count on her when play resumes. Here's the pitch from Sydney Supel, a pitch that's out and away. So 2 balls and 1 strike to the leadoff hitter, Bradley Klosterman. Had 2 hits in the Iowa State game on Wednesday and has 10 multi-hit games on the season. 1 3-hit game. The rest are 2-hit games all season long. Here is the 2-1 tour that she gets around on and hits it to first base. And she is able to glove it over there, Nikki Kukrin, and touch first base. It does move Zoe Schulte on to third, but it brings up 2 outs. As Bradley Klosterman hits one right down the line that was fielded by Nikki Kukrin, and actually the home plate umpire called it foul. It bounced fair all the way down the line, and the first baseman Kukrin nabbed it. And, well, anyway, I guess we won't complain about it. So now it becomes the 2-2 pitch. Now is 3 balls and 2 strikes to Bradley Klosterman. That sends Zoe Schulte back to second base. Northwestern leading 2-0. This is the top of the 5th inning. Bradley Klosterman at the plate, the sophomore from North Liberty, who prepped at Iowa City Liberty High School. Here is the 3-2, one that she'll get around on and hit it down the left field line. Just got the swing around in time to remain alive in this at-bat. Here's the one that she hits just right in front of head coach Renee Gillespie standing in that coaching box. So 3 balls and 2 strikes on the sophomore center fielder, Bradley Klosterman. Left-handed hitter steps back into the batter's box. Here is the windup and pitch. Bradley gets around on this one and rips it down the first base line. Well, there's a whole field out there between the right field line and the left field line, too, that I know she's trying to hit 1-2 out there, but she's been hugging the right field line foul and the left field line foul in her previous at-bats, but she's getting around on these pitches. Here against the 3-2 from Supel, one that she does get around on, and it's picked up by the first baseman who steps on first, and that will get Bradley Klosterman at first base. It does move Zoe Schulte on to second. So it was a hard hopper right to the first baseman, Nikki Kukrin. She picks it up on the second hop and steps right on the bag and immediately throws over to third base to Hannah Cady to try to get Zoe Schulte going from second to third, not in time. So with a runner at third and Zoe Schulte, it brings up Nia Carter with 2 outs. Here is the pitch to Nia down the plate, and it's called strike 1. Nia Carter, in her last at-bat, walked and was stranded at first base, and she bounced back to Sydney Supel in the circle in her first at-bat. Yesterday, Nia was 0 for 3 with a walk. Down on the count at a ball and no strikes. Here is the 0-1 that becomes 1 ball and 1 strike. Now it evens the count. Scored a run in the Iowa State game with a couple of strikeouts in that game. The Hawks lost 5-4. Here's the 1-1 to Nia. She takes a swing at it, pops it up, and go out into center field where Skylar Shellmeyer, creeping in, will make the catch, and that will end the Hawks in the top of the 5th inning. Get a runner on, move her to third, can't get her across the plate, and the Hawks still scoreless in this game number 2. It's Northwestern 2, the University of Iowa nothing, heading into the bottom of the 5th inning. You're listening to Iowa Hawkeye Softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network, YouTube channel, and Learfield on AM 800 KXIC.
Injury, surgery, or trauma can be a process. Join us and be another success story for Bounce Back at Windmill Manor. Rehab at the area's newest and most complete rehabilitation center, where their goal is to get you back home as quickly as possible. Be assured the well-being of residents, patients, and employees is their top priority. There really is no place like home. So when choosing post-acute rehab, choose Bounce Back. Rehab, recover, and return home. Visit windmillmanor.com to schedule your video chat today.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye Softball on 800 KXIC.
And we move into the bottom of the fifth inning. Yesterday I was at the rowing competition that the University of Iowa rowing team had out at Coralville Reservoir. They had to move it from Lake McBride. It started at 7:30 yesterday morning with the varsity 8s, with the 2 varsity 8s, with the varsity 4s and the 2 varsity 4s. Quite an event. If you've not been out to watch rowing, it's entertaining sport to watch. Obviously, you can't be out on the water watch it, but there was a nice crowd, mostly parents, of course, but teams from Minnesota, Oregon State, Central Florida, Southern California, and Wisconsin were there all competing at Coralville Reservoir. The Hawks and Minnesota and Wisconsin all tuning up for the Big Ten conference tournament, if you will, coming up in Indianapolis in a couple of weeks. Rachel Lewis will step to the right-handed batter's box for the Northwestern Wildcats. Rachel popped up, flied out to Nia Carter in her last at-bat. Singled and scored in her first at-bat back in the first inning. Hit a 2-run home run yesterday, was 1 for 2, scored 2 runs, including one of those as she helped herself out with a home run. Has 62 home runs in her career, has 20 of them this year, leading the Big Ten in home runs. She's been a 5-year player and a 2-time All-Big Ten player. Here is the 2-0 that she'll bound foul, an off-speed pitch that she gets out in front of and just barely able to edge that ball, and she hits it foul. So 2 balls and 1 strike on Rachel Lewis. 5'6" graduate student. She's from Liberty Township, Ohio. Has been a very solid performer for Northwestern. Here is the 2-1 that's upstairs. She doesn't go around on it. It's 3 balls and 1 strike. So I was mentioning in last year's competition against the Hawkeyes, she had 7 hits in 14 at-bats last year in the 4-game series against the Hawkeyes, in which Northwestern won 3 of those games. Here's the 3-1 from Brianna Vasquez to Rachel Lewis. Off speed, up high, outside, ball 4. So Rachel Lewis will draw a leadoff walk to start the bottom of the 5th inning. And for Brianna, that's just her 2nd walk of the day. Has had pretty good command of her pitches. And so it brings up Jordan Rudd. Rudd was walked in her last at-bat. Here's the first pitch to her that's called strike 1. Rudd, the senior catcher, batting .367 coming into the game, the leading hitter on this Northwestern team. She's the 14th leading hitter in the Big Ten. But they have their top 4 hitters hitting above .350. And here is a steal attempt to the outside. Rachel Lewis gets it. Now listen, Rachel Lewis has some speed. The lady, she's 18 of 21 stolen bases and attempted coming into that steal. She just swipes second base, so she's 19 of 22 on the season. Last year, she led the Big Ten in stolen bases with 30 in 32 attempts. So she has some great speed, was 9 for 9 2 years ago. Here is the pitch, the 1-1 to Jordan Rudd. That is caught by Grace Baines in foul territory just outside of third base. And so that is out number 1 in Northwestern's bottom of the 5th inning. Maeve Nelson comes to the plate. She's 0 for 2 in the day. Hit a line drive to Grace Baines in her last at-bat and struck out in her first at-bat. Maeve Nelson with a .260 batting average coming into the game. Has a teammate at second base in Rachel Lewis. Here is, she squares to bunt and down the first base line to Kalenna Burns, and Kalenna throws it away from Sammy Diaz, and that will send Nelson on to second base, and Rachel Nelson will score from second to make it a 3-0 game. Nelson was just trying to do a sacrifice bunt, and it ended up being an error on Kalena Burns with a throw wide of Sammy Diaz. And so Northwestern now with a 3-0 lead. And one out, and Nikki Kukrin comes to the plate. Three to nothing, the lead for Northwestern. Bottom of the fifth inning, one out, and now Maeve Nelson on to second base at second base, and Nikki Kukrin. She's 2 for 2 on the day, an RBI double and a single. Kukrin yesterday was 0 for 4 with a couple of strikeouts. Here's the first pitch she swings at, and she'll foul it into the backstop. Nikki Kukrin, the number 5 hitter in the lineup, with an 0-1 count on her, the left-handed hitter. Looking out at Brianna Vasquez. Here's the pitch, and it's just off the plate. 1 ball and 1 strike. Northwestern has upped its lead now to 3-0. Rachel Lewis started this at-bat with a walk, stole second, and then would get home following the error by Kalena Burns. Here's the 1-1 to Nikki Kukrin. Again, she gets around on it and will foul it into the backstop. When the Hawkeyes come to the plate in the top of the 6th inning, it'll be Denali Lecker to start it. So 1-2 count now on Nikki Kukrin, working against Brianna Vasquez. And the 1-2 pitch is here. And a pitch that she'll lift out into left field, pushing Riley Sheehy back. Riley makes the catch quickly into second base to Sammy Diaz, where Maeve Nelson will retreat. And that is out number 2 in Northwestern's bottom of the 5th inning. It brings up Angela Zedek. Angela Zedek 0 for 2. She has 2 flyouts to Nia Carter in right field. Zedek popped a home run yesterday. She was 3 for 4 in the game yesterday with a couple of RBIs. It was a 2-run home run that she hit. Here's the first pitch from Brianna Vasquez. Nice pitch down the middle called strike 1 on Zedek. Angela Zedek, out of a junior from Chicago. Down on the count at a ball and no strikes. 3-0 the lead for Northwestern. 2 outs, bottom of the 5th inning, and a runner at second base. Here's the 0-1 from Brianna Vasquez. Pitch that is upstairs, so it's 1 ball and 1 strike. Hawks infield is playing a step in. Just want to be sure that nothing gets to the outfield. Here is the 1-1 from Brianna Vasquez that's off the plate. So 2 balls and 1 strike. Angela Zedek, the junior left fielder, batting .234. Coming into the game. Here is the 2-1 from Brianna Vasquez. Zedek will get underneath this and hit it out to right field, where Nia Carter will haul it in and make the 3rd out of this bottom of the 3rd inning. But the Northwestern Wildcats pick up another run to make it 3-0 as we head into the top of the 6th inning. Denali Lecker will get it started for the Hawks when we play resumes. This is University of Iowa Hawkeye softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel from Learfield and AM 800 KXIC.
In North Liberty is proud to sponsor University of Iowa Hawkeyes athletics. Whether you're a fan of football, men's or women's basketball, wrestling, baseball, or softball, City Tractor is there to bring you all the action. A big thanks to City Tractor Company in North Liberty for keeping Hawkeye sports on the airwaves.
What is dedication?
People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
That's dedication. Visit fatherhood.gov to hear more. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Ad Council.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye softball on 800 KXIC.
Tomorrow's game will be a noon start here from Evanston, Illinois, between the Hawks and the Northwestern Wildcats. And the Hawkeyes will be on the road Wednesday at Northern Iowa in Cedar Falls. That another 5 o'clock start. I'll have that broadcast for you. And then it's the home finale of the Big Ten next weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. The Purdue Boilermakers come to town. Purdue game on Friday is at 5 o'clock. Saturday at 2 o'clock. Sunday is a noon game. That is a radio game here on AM 800 KXIC. So mark your calendars for that one next Sunday. Purdue and Iowa, a noon start. Will be on the air about 10 minutes before the noon hour next Sunday. And, of course, Iowa City Tire sponsoring that game and Iowa Hawkeye softball on that Sunday. We thank Andy Miller and Iowa City Tire for that. Denali Lecker steps to the right-handed batter's box in this top of the sixth inning. The at-bats are becoming scarce for the Hawks. They're going to try to get back in this game, have a chance to win it. They got to start doing it now. Denali Lecker 0 for 2 on the day. Denali yesterday was 2 for 3, hit a solo home run in her first at-bat and a single later. Looks at a pitch, is down and away, so she's ahead in the count here at 2 balls and no strikes. Had a hit in the Iowa State game and scored a run. So she has hit safely in 7 of her last 8 games, depending on what happens here today. Here's one that she'll lift up into the air, and it's in foul territory. Making the play for the Northwestern Wildcats is the catcher, Jordan Rudd, just in foul territory. So that takes a big bat out of the hands of a good hitter for the Hawks and brings up Kalenna Burns. Kalenna Burns on the day walked and singled. So she's 1 for 1 on the day, and she fouls one back into the backstop on the first pitch. Kalenna with no hits yesterday. She did walk once, and she was hit by 2 different pitches, 2 at-bats. Interesting day for her. Down to the count at no balls and a strike to Sydney Supel. A pitch that she rips out to right field, and it'll be a base hit for Kalenna Burns, the right fielder. It was such a hard shot out to right field that Rachel Lewis quickly retrieved and tried to throw it to first base, and Kukrin wasn't really ready for it. Unfortunately, the catcher was there to back it up, but this was a nice line drive shot to the opposite field for Kalenna Burns and a base hit. So she gets a 1-out single and is at first base. That brings up Sophia Morris, the junior out of Johnston, the transfer from Des Moines Area Community College. Here's one that she'll lift out into center field, and so the Hawks in business here with back-to-back hits by Kalenna Burns and Sophia Morris, and it brings up Sammy Diaz. Now, Sophia just went after a pitch kind of softly, but had enough on it to hit it out to Skylar Schellmeyer in center field and is at first base. So with 1 out, Iowa with runners at first and second. And Sammy Diaz at the plate. Sammy flew out to left field and got on the fielder's choice. So she is 0 for 2 for the day, had a hit in yesterday's game and walked and struck out 2. And here is the first pitch to her. She'll hit one out into center field where Schellmeyer's shallow center field. She'll make the catch. Kalenna Burns not able to tag up. Ball was not hit deep enough for that to happen. And so quickly Iowa down to 2 outs in this top of the 6th inning. Grace Baines now will step to the plate. Grace Baines, sophomore out of Kansas City, Kansas. Had a hit in yesterday's game, had a hit in the Iowa State game. So Grace on a 5-game hitting streak. Coming into this at-bat, here's one she'll lift foul back behind the backstop. Grace has flown out in her first 2 at-bats. And is down on the count at no balls and 1 strike. Here's the pitch from Sydney Supel, the left-hander. And it's one that Baines, again, will get up underneath and foul it back behind the backstop. So she's down in the count at no balls and 2 strikes. Baines on the season does have 5 multi-hit games. 3 of them were in the first, 4 of them were in the first 10 games. Here's the 0-2 from Sydney Supel down and away, so it's ball 1. She had 4 2-hit games in the first 9 games of the season. Her most recent one was in the second game against Illinois, the first game of the doubleheader last weekend that Iowa won. She's down on the count of the ball and 2 strikes. Here's a pitch she'll foul back behind the backstop. And the count remains the same at a ball and 2 strikes. Baines a year ago started 6 games, the first 6 games at second base, and then the next 38 at shortstop. Here's one that she hits out into center field. It's pushing Schellmeyer back, but not deep enough to have her look at it over the wall, and Grace Baines will fly out to center field. That will end the Iowa Hawkeyes here in the top of the 6th inning. We go to the bottom of the 6th inning, and Northwestern continues to lead the Iowa Hawkeyes by the score of 3-0. This is Iowa Hawkeye softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel from Learfield and AM 800 KXIC.
Grow corn, a lot of corn. We love seeing our farmers in the fields, and although they're perfect strangers, we know them. We know them by their equipment covered in dust. We know them by their work ethic where days off don't exist. We know them by the way they wave passing strangers alike on a 2-lane road. We know them in the midst of our kitchen as we prepare another family meal. In Iowa, we grow corn, but the truth is corn grows Iowa. The Iowa corn farmers are proud to be on the sidelines for the Iowa Hawkeyes.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye softball on 800 KXIC.
And we certainly feel for those farmers that aching to get out into the field and get things planted and get the springtime started. This rain and these fronts that have been coming through with a lot of moisture just kind of putting things back, but it'll dry up soon, folks. We're feeling for you, our agribusinessmen out there trying to plant the many tens of thousands of acres of corn, millions of acres all across the Midwest. Coming into the bottom of the 6th inning, it's Hannah Cady going to start it off for Northwestern. She singled in her last at-bat and walked in her first at-bat. This is getting near the bottom of the order. Hitters 7, 8, and 9 to face Brianna Vasquez, who's gone the entire way for the Hawkeyes. Here is the first pitch. That's called strike 1, right on that outside corner. So Brianna, a good spot to begin this at-bat. Cady, the sophomore third baseman from Clarkston, Michigan. No balls and 1 strike on Cady. Here's the pitch from Brianna Vasquez, a pitch that's just off the plate, almost the same spot. It's a little bit further outside, so it is 1 ball and 1 strike. Danielle Williams is warming up for Northwestern in the dugout. She went 5 1/3 innings yesterday. Gave up the Hawkeyes 4 runs. Here is the 1-1 to Cady, a pitch that she swings at and will miss. So she's down on the count at a ball and 2 strikes. Hannah Cady, a .279 hitter coming into the game. She now 36 of 130 at-bats. 6 doubles, a triple, and 6 home runs. Here's an off-speed pitch that she gets around on. Down to right field line. Is it fair? It is fair, and a home run for Hannah Cady. Got onto a pitch that was down and in on her. She got around on it quickly, hit it high, and it drifted and drifted, and it went over the right field wall right near the foul pole, but it was fair, and another run for the Northwestern Wildcats. Hannah Cady with a home run here in the bottom of the 6th inning. And for Hannah Cady, it's her 7th home run of the season. And Brianna Vasquez now has given up her the 12th home run of her season. But more importantly, Northwestern leads it now 4-0. That would be described as an insurance run. I know the umpires are getting together to talk about it, and I believe it's going to stand. It was that close, folks. I think it was just inside the foul pole, but it was very high. And the umpires just had to stand there and watch it, kind of, judge it from where they were at, considering they were still 100 feet away from it. So it's a 4-0 game, and Sydney Supel now will bat again for Ayanna Lindsey. She did that back in the fourth inning and popped up to Sammy Diaz at second base. They had the count at a ball and no strikes. Sydney Supel is the pitcher for Northwestern. Here is the 1-0. That becomes 1 ball and 1 strike on Sydney Supel, junior out of Oshkosh, Wisconsin, has gone the distance for Northwestern here today. Not sure that we'll see Danielle Williams. Maybe Williams is just getting some throws in. Here's the 1-1 from Brianna Vasquez that's off the plate. So it's 2 balls and 1 strike. Here's the 2-1 from Brianna Vasquez to her counterpart, Sydney Supel. And it's one that Supel will take a good cut at and miss. Good spot placement down and low by Brianna Vasquez. So it evens the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Four to nothing the lead for Northwestern. Here is the 2-2. One that Supel will get around on and foul it into the backstop. Northwestern scored 2 runs in their first at bat. A double by Carter Shellmeyer. She was singled home by Rachel Lewis, who would then be hit home by Nikki Kukrin, who hit a double. And then it stood that way until the 5th inning when Northwestern would score a run. Here is the 2-2 that Sydney Supel will swing at and miss, and she's down on strikes. Rachel Lewis walked, and she would eventually score. And then just moments ago, here in the bottom of the 6th inning, Hannah Cady leads off the top of the 6th inning, or the bottom of the 6th inning, with a solo home run. So it's Grace Nito coming to the plate for Northwestern. Nito reached on a fielder's choice in her last at-bat and popped up to Grace Baines at third base in her first at-bat. Looks at a pitch that's down and away, so it's ball 1. Bottom of the 6th inning, the Hawks will be coming to the plate here shortly, and it'll be the number 8 hitter, Marissa Peak, when the Hawks come to the plate. Here's the 1-0 from Brianna Vasquez, a pitch that's slapped to the right of Sophia Morris. She bobbles it at short, had to chase it out into shallow left field, but in the meantime, Nito was able to get to first, then doesn't attempt to go to second base for fear of being thrown out. So she'll remain at first. It's a base hit for her. She just slapped it right to the left of Sophia Morris. We'll see if they don't make that an error, because Morris didn't really have to go too far, just one step to her right, and it bounced off the heel of her glove. And so with 1 out, it is Grace Nito at first base and Skylar Shellmeyer, the top of the order for Northwestern. She popped up to Marissa Peak in her last at-bat. A hit is given to Grace Nito. So she's at first base and 1 out. Here is the 1-0 that Shellmeyer will slap down the left field line and foul. So it evens the count at a ball and a strike. This is the bottom of the 6th inning. Northwestern at the plate. They have a 4-0 lead. That 4th run came here 2 batters ago at the hands of Hannah Cady, who hit a solo home run to make it 4-0. There's 1 out, 1 runner on, and here is Shellmeyer again trying to slap one, and she'll foul it back behind the backstop again. So she's down in the count at a ball and 2 strikes against Brianna Vasquez for the University of Iowa Hawks. So Brianna Vasquez now trying to take down Skylar Shellmeyer again. Here's the 1-2 to her, and it's a pitch that's Up and in, so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. Wildcats with a runner at first base. Just slowly inching away from the Hawks here in this game number 2. Leading it 4-0 in the bottom of the 6th inning. Scotter Shellmeyer, the leadoff hitter at the plate with a 2-2 count on her. Here's one that she'll bounce to third and foul. Grace Baines retrieves, but she's in foul territory. So the count remains the same at 2-2. After this weekend series for Northwestern, they will host Minnesota. Certainly will be a big matchup between the two of them. A year ago was really huge at the end of the year. But, of course, Minnesota, a different team without Amber Pfizer, or a pitcher of her caliber for them. And they do have some good pitching, just not at that level. So Northwestern will finish with Minnesota next weekend. And I think if they win out the rest of these 2 games and win at least one next weekend, they're going to win the Big Ten and have the number 1 seed going into the Big Ten tournament. Iowa, on the other hand, really just trying to salvage some wins. They need to pick up some wins today, tomorrow, next weekend, all 3 of those games, just to try to get to the number 12 seed. Here's the 2-2 to Shellmeyer. She pops it up into the air. It's in between short, center, and left, and Brodie Klosterman calls everybody off and will take it from center field in very shallow center field for the second out of the inning. And it brings up Rachel Lewis, the dangerous Rachel Lewis. Right-handed hitting Lewis walked and scored in her last at-bat. She stole the base. She singled in her first at-bat, an RBI single, and she flew out to right field in her second at-bat. Here is the first pitch to her, called strike 1 in the outside corner. So, in essence, Rachel is 1 for 2 in the day with 2 runs scored. Lewis yesterday was 1 for 2, had a two-run home run that she hit. Here's the 0-1 from Brianna Vasquez, a pitch that's off the plate. Ball 1, so 1 ball and 1 strike on the senior, Rachel Lewis. I always relate the story of back in 2018 when she ended Iowa's trek through the Big Ten Conference Tournament after Iowa had beaten Ohio State in the first round. They played Northwestern in the next round and went 8 innings. In the bottom of the 8th inning, Rachel Lewis hit a home run, a walk-off home run, 2-run home run. Iowa led it 1-0 going into the bottom of the 8th inning. And Sabrina Rabin got on base, and then it was Rachel Lewis, and Rachel ended it with 1 swing of the bat. Always remember that from Madison, Wisconsin. She now behind in the count at 1-2 strikes. Runner at first base, 2 outs, 4-0 the lead for Northwestern, bottom of the 6th. Here's the pitch from Brianna Vasquez. It's up and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes. I know Brianna trying to be careful with Rachel Lewis. Don't want to give her anything over the plate because she's got power, strong wrists, forearms that she can just crush the ball. So she's trying to do some off-speed pitching with some breaking stuff. Get her to pound it into the ground. Here's the 2-2 again down the middle, and Rachel gets around on it. Will foul it into the backstop. Lewis had been a player of the week earlier this year. She's had it happen numerous times in her career. All Big Ten in 2018, second team All Big Ten 2019, first team All Big Ten last year. Headed that way this year too. Here's one that she'll lift foul on the right field line again. So she remains at bat in this bottom of the 6th inning with a 2-2 count on her. 2 outs, teammate at first base in Grace Nito. Here comes the pitch from Brianna Vasquez. Into Marissa Peak behind the plate. And it's one that Rachel will get around on. This time hit it fouled on the third base line as Brianna trying to jam her. But again, she's got such a quick swing, very strong forearms and wrist area that she can swing that bat with authority. She remains in this at-bat with a 2-2 count on her. Runner at first base. Here's the 2-2 from Brianna Vasquez. A pitch that's that Rachel will hit right at Sophia Morris. She had to leap as high as she could, reach out and snag it. It was a line drive, and Morris able to get it. That will end Northwestern here in the bottom of the 6th inning, but Iowa needs 4 to make Northwestern bat in the bottom of the 7th inning, 5 to take the lead and have the same thing with Northwestern batting in the bottom of the 7th inning. We'll see what happens when play resumes. Marissa Peak will start it for the Hawks when play continues. This is Iowa Hawkeye softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel from Learfield and AM 800 KXIC.
You want to reach everyone, adults, teens, millennials, but it's not like these groups all hang out in the same place, right? Actually wrong. They're all right here, listening to radio commercials just like this one. Radio ads connect with 93% of Americans every week. That's more than Google, more than Facebook, more than TV. In fact, radio reaches 20% more millennials than TV. Want more of the people you want to talk to all in one place? Visit iHeartAdvertising.com and get AM/FM working for you. That's iHeartAdvertising.com.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye softball on 800 KXIC.
Well, the Hawkeyes might be down to their last 3 at-bats in this game, trailing 4-0. As Northwestern, they started the bottom of the 1st inning with 2 runs and hadn't scored again until the bottom of the 5th when they got a run. And then in the bottom of the 6th inning, their very last at-bat, Hannah Katie with a solo home run to give them an insurance run to make it 4-0. Iowa has had runners on base, just unable to move them forward. Did the same thing yesterday with 10 runners on base and losing that game 9-5. Marissa Peak, sophomore catcher from Wentzville, Missouri, steps to the batter's box. Marissa reached on an error in her last at-bat and struck out on her first at-bat. Hawks just need to chip away at Sydney Supel. She's really pitched a nice game for Northwestern. Here is the first pitch to Marissa Peak. That's up and away, so it's 1 ball and no strikes. Marissa, again from Wentzville, which is in the northwest of St. Louis. Here's a pitch that's up and in on her, so it's 2 balls and no strikes. First-team All-Stater in high school. Has the school record of home runs, doubles, and runs batted in at her high school, Wentzville Holt. Up in the count at 2 balls and no strikes. Here it comes the pitch from Supel. Down and away, 3 balls and no strikes. Marissa has 6 multi-hit games this season. All of them are 2-hit games. Here's the 3-0, and it's a pitch that's called ball 4. So a 4 consecutive ball pitch at bat for Marissa Peak will put her at first base and bring up Riley Sheehy. Riley Sheehy, senior left fielder, she sacrificed at a sacrifice bunt in her first at bat and walked in her second at bat, so she has really no official at bats. And Kate Claypool will come in and run for Marissa Peak here in the top of the 7th inning. Nobody out. Hawks with a runner at first base. Riley Sheehy, the number 9 hitter in the lineup out of Newtown, Pennsylvania. Lefty versus lefty as the left-handed Sydney Supel. Here is the first pitch to Riley, a pitch that's just inside, ball 1. Very close. The umpire took a long look at it, but he thought it was too far inside. So it's 1 ball and no strikes on Riley. Brody Klosterman set to go next. Leadoff hitter. Here is the same pitch, and it's the same result, a ball. 2 balls and no strikes on the senior left fielder for the Hawks. So we had a good hit and pitch here. She knows she's going to get a pitch to hit. See if Roddy can get around on it and put it into play. Here's the 2-0 from Supel, one that Roddy does get around on, hits it right at first base. They get the force at second on Zoe Schulte, on Kate Claypool. And on first base will be Riley Sheehy on a fielder's choice, and it brings up Briley Klosterman. Briley on the day. Oh for 2 with a walk, and here she looks at a first pitch ball on the inside. So 1 ball and no strikes on the sophomore center fielder, Briley Klosterman. 4-0 the lead for Northwestern. This is the top of the 7th inning. Outs are becoming scarce for the Hawks. Here is the 1-0. Again, she rips down the right field line and foul. She's getting around on those pitches that are on her inside, but she's hitting them foul. One ball and 1 strike on the sophomore from North Liberty, prepping at Iowa City Liberty High School. Here is the 1-1 pitch that's upstairs, so it's 2 balls and 1 strike. A year ago, Briley finished the season hitting safely in 11 of her last 15 games. She had a total of 11 multi-hit games last year, a 4-hit, a 3-hit, and 9 2-hit games. Here is the 2-1 that she'll foul back behind the backstop, so it's 2 balls and 2 strikes. She carried the hitting streak over into this year, where she's hit safely in the first 5 games and 7 of the first 8 to get the season started. She's even in the count here at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Here's the pitch from Sydney Supel, and it's a pitch that's outside, so it's a full count, 3 balls and 2 strikes. Riley Sheehy at first, 1 out. Briley Klosterman, the leadoff hitter at the plate. This is the top of the 7th inning. Iowa trails 4-0. Sydney Supel in the circle for Northwestern. Here's the 3-2 to Briley, one that is up and in on her, but she swings at it and fouls it back into the backstop. I think she was just kind of swinging. She didn't want to leave it up to the umpire. It would have been called a ball anyway. You don't have a lot of time really to make that decision. Your reaction time is so short. 3 balls and 2 strikes. On the sophomore center fielder, Briley Klosterman. Here is the pitch from Sydney Supel. And it's a pitch that hits out into center field right at Skylar Shellmeyer, though. She lifted it nicely, but too high and far enough that Shellmeyer able to make the catch out in original center field. And that's 2 gone, and Iowa's top of the 7th inning. So down to their last out, Nia Carter with a runner at first. Well, the Hawks have been able to do some damage with 2 outs on the season. Here's the first pitch to Nia's inside, so it's ball 1. There have been multiple occasions this season where Iowa has scored a run with 2 outs, and a few times they've scored more than 1. They need 4 to make Northwestern bad in the top or in the bottom of the 7th. Here is the 1-0. Now becomes 2 balls and no strikes. Riley Sheehy at first. Nia Carter at the plate. 2 outs, 2-0 count on her. Here's the pitch from Sydney Supel. One that Nia will get around on. Line drive right at Nikki Kukrin, who was playing 2 steps down and 2 steps in at first base. And that was a ripped line drive to her that she snags out of the air to end the Hawkeyes at bat and this game. It was another hard-fought game for the Iowa Hawkeyes. Just couldn't get any runs across the plate. Lose this game 4-0. We have our post-game show coming up for you here on AM 800 KXIC. Northwestern beats Iowa 4-0 in the second game of the 3-game series between the Hawks and the Northwestern Wildcats. We'll talk about game number 3 tomorrow and what else is ahead for the Hawks here the remainder of this regular season. 4-0 the win for Northwestern. This is Iowa Hawkeye softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel from Learfield and AM 800 KXIC.
Cubs game all season long on your home for Cubs baseball, 800 KXIC. You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye softball on 800 KXIC.
Well, it was Northwestern getting 2 runs in the bottom of their first inning, their first at-bat, to take a 2-0 lead, which they held up until the bottom of the 5th inning, when they would get another run to make it 3-0, and then they would score one in the bottom of the 6th on a solo home run from Hannah Cady. Iowa had runners on base in a few innings, a few of their at-bats, just couldn't advance them past third and step on the plate. 4 runs scored, losing the game 4-0 to Northwestern. We'll talk more. We'll have our post-game show coming up. This is Iowa Hawkeye Softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel from Learfield and AM 800 KXIC.
Looking for a place to go before and after Hawkeye home games? Make a night of it at Graduate Iowa City Hotel. Take advantage of our in-house Topgolf Swing Suite for a full bar and a menu of American classics, and most importantly, a selection of exciting virtual games from favorites like golf, football, and baseball to more unique options like zombie dodgeball. Call 319-337-4058 for details and reservations at Graduate Iowa City Hotel.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye softball on 800 KXIC.
Well, the Hawkeyes got started in their top of the first inning. They went 3 up and 3 down. They did get a runner on in the second inning. Actually had 2 on, not at the same time. Couldn't get them across. They had 2 runners on in their third at-bat in the top of the 3rd inning, 1 on the top of the 4th inning, 1 in the 5th inning, 1 in the 6th, 2 in the 6th, and they had 2 on in the 7th inning, but just weren't able to pull across a run across the plate to make this a tighter game and even give themselves a chance to win it. They lose it to Northwestern by the score of 4-0. Game number 3 is tomorrow. That'll be a noon start right here on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel from Learfield. 4-0 the win for Northwestern over the University of Iowa. More to come here on this post-game show. You're listening to Iowa Hawkeye Softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel from Learfield and AM 800 KXIC.
Hi, Hawkeye fans. My name is Denali. And I'm Briley. And we're members of your Iowa Hawkeye softball team. Our team is striving to be number 1. And that's why we trust our vehicles to Iowa City Tire and Service, the #1 automotive shop in Iowa City, where service actually comes first. Iowa City Tire and Service, where their customers become friends because they treat you like family. Find them at 410 Kirkwood Avenue or online at ictire.com. Proud sponsors of Hawkeye Softball.
There's a sense of pride that comes from the life of a farmer. How many people can say they have a famous tan named after them, or be known for their wave when they drive past neighbors and strangers alike on a 2-lane road? Whether it's a farmer's tan or the farmer's wave, we are proud to be known for a lot of things. We feel that pride every night at the dinner table, knowing we feed our family and yours. Iowa Corn is proud to be on the sidelines cheering on the Iowa Hawkeyes. In Iowa, we grow corn, but the truth is corn grows Iowa.
Help the planet with a tip from iHeartRadio Earth. Spending time outdoors can improve overall health and wellness. Celebrate Earth Day and take advantage of nature's health benefits by visiting a local park. Recreate responsibly to protect yourself and others, and to make the outdoors safe and welcoming for people of all identities and abilities. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Outhouse to the penthouse? Do you have property your brothers need help with transferring ownership? Do you love everything Hawkeye from Kinnick to Carver? Then you'll want to talk with us. Hi, this is Steve Anderson with Hawkeye Title and Settlement, ready to serve you high-quality real estate title and closing services. Oh, and we also love our Iowa baseball, but we're also happy to assist Cyclone fans too. Hawkeye Title and Settlement of Iowa City and HawkeyeTitle.com. The team you love, the people you trust.
You're listening to University of Iowa Hawkeye softball on 800 KXIC.
And the game just concluded here, game number 2 of the 3-game series between the Iowa Hawkeyes and the Northwestern Wildcats. Northwestern wins the game by the score of 4-0. Again, they scored 2 in the bottom of the first inning, held steady until the bottom of the 5th when they added a run to make it 3-0, and then in the bottom of the 6th, they get an insurance run on a solo home run from Hannah Cady. The Iowa Hawkeyes just unable to get some runs across the plate here this afternoon. So that's 2 games in a row for Northwestern over the Iowa Hawkeyes, and Iowa now will fall to 2-17 in the Big Ten, and Northwestern goes to 17-2. They're ranked number 8 in the country. They're 37-7 overall, and continuing to be on a surge here. Game number 3 is tomorrow. It's a noon game right here on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel from Learfield. I'll have that broadcast for you a little bit before the hour of noon. Some other sports news. Of course, we know that Tyler Linderbaum, the first-round pick out of the Baltimore Ravens from the University of Iowa, and a Solon native, he'll be kind of following the footsteps of the Anamosa offensive lineman of a couple of years ago that played at the University of Iowa too. So Linderbaum and the number 25 pick in the first round. And then Dane Belton, defensive back, was selected by the New York Giants in the 4th round at the number 114 pick. So congratulations to him. I guess I was thinking of Marshall Yanda out of Anamosa that played for the Baltimore Ravens for 11 years, had 9 Pro Bowl appearances, and was certainly a stalwart in that offensive line for the Baltimore Ravens, and really no better coach to play for than John Harbaugh there with the Baltimore Ravens. So congratulations to not only Tyler Linderbaum, but to Dane Belton as well. We'll wrap up this broadcast here. Northwestern defeats Iowa 4-0 here in Game 2 of the 3-game series. You're listening to Iowa Hawkeye Softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel and AM 800 KXIC.
Overall health and wellness, modern medicine, or personal hygiene. Actually, it's both. But considering that bathing went mainstream in the 1800s and brushing your teeth in the 1900s, isn't it time for something new, like cleaning your nose? After all, your nose is the body's air filter for trapping dirt and germs, the first line of defense against allergens, bacteria, and viruses from getting into your lungs. But how do you clean your nose? With Navage. Navage isn't medicine, it's more like plumbing. Navage uses powered suction to pull saline in one nostril to the very back of the nose where germs can get trapped and multiply, and then out the other nostril, flushing out mucus and microbes so you can breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier. Join over 2 million others and find out for yourself how refreshing and easy to use Navage is. At Navage.com, Walgreens, CVS, Rite Aid, Target, Bed Bath, and Walmart. Navage. Clean nose, healthy life.
Corval residents, while you're spring cleaning, join in events to help you reduce, reuse, and recycle. Recycle Swap Day and Community Shred Day is Saturday, May 7th. Both events are free at the Corval City Hall parking lot. Donate clean, usable items from 8 a.m. till noon and choose from gifts by others like books, clothes, furniture, working appliances, toys, and more. You can also bring up 2 boxes of personal papers for free shredding from 10 until noon, courtesy of Heartland Shredding and the Corval Police. Check Corval.org for more information.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
Welcome to AutoZone. Dashboard light problems? We can help. Our free Fix Finder service can read your check engine light, ABS light, and service indicator light, and give you possible solutions, verified by licensed technicians. You'll even get detailed results sent straight to your email so you have them when you need it most. It's the most complete free warning light report backed by technician-verified fixes. The free Fix Finder service, only at AutoZone.
Get in zone, AutoZone.
More details at AutoZone.com.
We'll now wrap up this broadcast on 800 KXIC with the play-by-play voice of the Iowa Hawkeye softball team, Jerry Koala.
Thank you very much, Eric. University of Iowa Sports Medicine delivers comprehensive care for competitive and recreational athletes of all ages. Our team of orthopedic surgeons, physicians, and specialists are committed to reducing pain and injury through our advanced training and experience. Same-day, next-day appointments available, no referral needed. Learn more by visiting uihc.org/sportsmedicine. Thanks for tuning in here this afternoon. Mentioned to you that the Iowa baseball team has their game against Nebraska postponed today. They'll play a doubleheader tomorrow beginning at noon. Rain in the area out in Lincoln, Nebraska, so they had to postpone today's game. The Hawkeyes won yesterday's game 1-0, 9-4 in the Big Ten and in third place. So that'll be a doubleheader tomorrow that you'll have for Iowa Hawkeye baseball. The Iowa softball team loses game number 2 of the 3-game series to the Northwestern Wildcats today by the score of 4-0. Northwestern won yesterday's game by the score of 9-5. I'm Jerry Koala. Next radio game and the last one of the Iowa Hawkeye softball season will be next Sunday against the Purdue Boilermakers. Iowa and Purdue. We'll have more about that in the coming week ahead. Thank you for tuning in here this afternoon. Look forward to talking with you again here real soon on AM 800 KXIC. Northwestern 4, Iowa 0. You've been listening to Iowa Hawkeye Softball on the Hawkeye Sports Radio Network YouTube channel from Learfield and AM 800 KXIC.
For tuning into the Learfield broadcast of the University of Iowa Hawkeye softball team on 800 KXIC. This broadcast was brought to you by Bounce Back at Windmill Manor, the City of Coralville, Graduate Hotel, Hawkeye Title and Settlement, Iowa City Tire and Service, Iowa Corn, and Premier Automotive.
We now join Fox Sports Radio, already in progress on 800 KXIC and available on your Amazon smart speakers.